Toes gang. Good people. Good people of Toes Nation. What's up? How you doing? Welcome. Welcome in, whether you are new or not. Hope the weekend has treated you well. It's a good old Monday, which means we're going to sit and just talk each other's ears off for a while. Well, you're going to talk my eyeballs off because you're in chat. But I'm here to chat with you. I am, what is that thing that Bernie used to say, Bernie Sanders? I'm coming to you again to ask you once more to talk about a couple features that may or may not come out at some point for Star Citizen. Welcome in, folks. How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me today, chat. Vivi Jr. with the Toes Gang sub, starting us off strong with 40 months subbed on Twitch. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Your livelihood, the your habits, the way you live your life, your dog if you have one. Much love to you. I hope you're doing well. Thank you as well, everybody else. You're not second-class citizens. You're great people, all of you. Doesn't matter whether you sub in or not. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for watching. How's it going, though? How was your weekends? How's your time been? What you been up to? You eat any hot dogs over the weekend? Any burgers? Any good stuff? It's a time for celebration because it's hot as f***. And I think, you know, everybody, well, I guess not if you're in the bottom half of the world. Not that bottom half is bad. That makes it sound bad. Some of you are enjoying some frosty nips right now, I know. Congrats to you because it's hot out here. Although, it's a good thing because Mrs. Tomato loves the beach. So we get to go down to the beach in the mornings and get a little bit of exercise in the water instead of on the treadmill. Welcome in, though, folks. Vastin, good to see you, dude. Azrin, welcome in. Tim Stone, AAK, dude, how have you been? You've been a little here and there lately, huh? Fighting some fire, saying some lives. Good to see you in chat, man. Guess who got off work while the building gets renovated? Oh, M. No work kind of day? That's a good thing because today is going to be... We got a long but a good one today. And we are finishing off with our first cooking stream. Yes, so we'll be doing all of our things here, right? And then in about 3 hours, we're going to be transitioning over to Mrs. Tomato's Twitch channel. And in fact, let me throw a little shout out for her. If you wanted to preempt that and get over there and give a little follow already. I'm going to raid straight into there and I'm going to hop out there with her and we're going to go do a little cooking stream in the kitchen to start us off. And then, you know, go from there, continue to do more of those. And it's going to be a good time. So I hope you join us for that. Before that, we're talking missions, we're talking economy, we're talking a lot of relatively big changes to Star Citizen that, oh my gosh, we've waited a long time for. Holy crap. The mission scene in Star Citizen, it sucks. We've got missions. Yes, we do. But we got plenty of missions that are still kind of missing that they've talked about. We've got missions that they have not talked about that we really need direly. And we have an economy that's basically not really an economy. It's just kind of, it's there. It's an economy. And you know, there are prices and there's mission payouts and there's stuff like that. It doesn't really react, though. It doesn't pay you what you deserve. And it doesn't award you for the missions that you take. So today we're going to jump in first to Inside Star Citizen. Look at what they've got planned for 324. Then we're going to jump in over to Star Citizen Live, where they talk much more in depth about the missions that are coming up and the economy and how it's going to form around them. And I'll, you know, do the same of deep dives and give you some ins and outs, some context of what they're talking about. And hopefully it's a good time. Of course, throughout all that, we'll be chatting back and forth, throwing out a couple little insults here and there. I just released a new video onto the channel. And oh my gosh, the response, it is already like, I think it's going to be a bit of a decisive video, not just because of the community, but apparently it is already getting a little bit of attention on the more developmental side. Not to say necessarily the company, but I may have had a couple people reach out to me already to talk a bit about the topic of the video and the realities of it and what. Go watch the video and you'll understand. It's a video about a big move that CIG made last year. It was an exclusive that came out, I think in December I released it, and it just went public today. Oh. But as soon as it went public, I started getting some messages about, you know, the more kind of inside details of that. And it's interesting. It's interesting. I also got trolled really quickly. I'm going to start pinning messages of people that I think make dumb comments, because it's just, sometimes they're just funny. And I saw somebody else do it on YouTube and I thought it was pretty cool. Anyways, Shifty, no socks today, huh? Sounds like a bad day. Matt, Sully, good to see you though. Pedro, Luna Maria, welcome. Good to see you today. Eric, too hot for you in West Michigan. Michigan's kind of a chillier place, huh? But you live on the beach. Ah, right. You got a big old lake out there, huh? Feel like you're going out and doing what the guide system tells you to teach folks, rock, munch, and trade and stuff like that. You doing the guide system? Anybody taking part in the Foundation Festival? Getting into that good stuff? Took 3 hours to get refueling to work on the Starfarer. You actually tried to refuel? Like, Toad. Refueling just does not work, from what I've noticed. Man, what is the... Is it picking up this fan? There we go. That comes through loud on the microphone. Sorry about that. Yeah, the refueling. Oh no, that's that fan that you're hearing. Fans are so loud. No, I turned that one off. I think it's that one. Yeah, that one's blowing on the mic. Boo, boo, fans! Why are you so loud? Yeah, the refueling is awful. And it's funny because they were like, hey, we're going to do refueling because it needs to be in Pyro, so you guys can refuel in Pyro. And now Pyro is about to be out. And refueling is still in an awful state. You can't even really call for somebody to give you refueling. In fact, like, what if Pyro had come out when they wanted it to? We wouldn't have had any refueling. I never get that. You got it to work, but it was a pain. Well, good for you. Captain Ash, good to see you. John, welcome. Of course, Stream Elements, always a pleasure to see you and know you're actually working today. Vass and most are not guiding anyone. You find someone and they just want the loot, so you sit for 30 minutes not teaching. Ah, solid. Yeah, no, CIG is more teaching us how to exploit than play, huh? Well, good for them. At least it's some fun. All right, we're going to kick it off. Looks like chat is, people are slowly rolling in today. But why wait when you can get started right away? Let's look at what was ISC last week. Talking about missions and economy and see what they're getting at for 324.
The upcoming Alpha 324 has a variety of life in the verse changing aspects, including the personal persistent hangars, freight elevators, and the next step forward in physicalized inventory. But with these changes come a new era in cargo-specific mission content. Different than the commodity runs you might be used to, we spoke in depth about this in our recent Making Missions 2 episode of Star Citizen Live, which you should check out if you haven't already. Your Nick did great. And on this week's ISC, they're joined by Elliot and yet another Nick to show you these new cargo missions and reintroduce us to the long-mentioned Blockade Runner global event.
So how many of these do you think you've done at this point?
Videos for you, I don't know, over 20.
You still like doing them?
Yeah.
This is the third one, so I guess I've done 2 before this.
You say over 20?
What was your first one?
Also Blockade Runner.
This your first one?
Uh-huh.
You nervous?
Tiny bit.
They got easier or harder?
Easier. When I first started, I was focused too much on the camera, and that was making me think too much.
When there's a camera pointed at you, it's still a little bit different than just speaking to people, but...
You just gotta paint a face on the camera.
Thought that the camera was someone. It made it easier because it felt like I was just talking to someone instead of looking at a machine trying to be perfect.
So you stop trying to be perfect.
Yeah, pretty much.
Put like
I
a
was
fake body on the tripod.
That should have been easy for you.
Get him.
Civilians are advised to avoid engaging in space travel.
Yo, this is like, we've been hearing about Blockade Runner for a year now. They better release this thing. This better happen. I know they've been waiting for the freight elevators, but we've had like a few different shows about this one.
Blockade Runner is an event that focuses on cargo hauling and space combat.
The inhabitants of a station ask for aid. The bad guys have blockaded one of these stations, and the citizens there need help to get certain supplies from outside to go back in.
The idea with it is that you would have someone who flies a cargo ship and loads up full of cargo, and then have a bunch of escort ships that help fight them. However, the way they now have to get the cargo means they have to actually go and extract it from pirates who have taken.
Yo, Plywood Box. Sorry to interrupt, guys. Plywood Box, thank you for the sub. I'm not getting these alert sounds. Honestly, they haven't been coming up too often lately, so I keep missing them. Thank you so much for your 12 months of sub. Appreciate you and your support. It means a lot to me.
Taking it from the station.
We wanted to make a cargo-based event because a lot of our current events are really heavy on combat. And cargo's been kind of underutilized on the global event scene, and we thought it would be fun to work that into.
Oh, God, CIG. Classic CIG. I love how it's like, yeah, this is a cargo event because everything's based on combat. And then, like, the literal opening of this episode is combat. Oh, I complain about this too much, I know, but they just cannot get past the pew-pew in this game. They can't get past it, no matter what. There's always weapons.
Really heavy on combat. And cargo's been kind of underutilized on the global event scene, and we thought it would be fun to work that into our usual design.
The response we saw from Xenothreat, when we first
What's
put
up, Reaper?
Xenothreat out, we really liked when we saw players working together in kind of like a Dunkirk type moment where one person had pulled up, just opened the ramp, a couple of people had cleared the wreck already, and then they're all just throwing cargo into the back of someone's ship. They don't know this person. They've not talked to them, but everyone understands their role in this space they've created. And there's people who are flying above, sort of also protecting against the waves of Ninetales that were coming to the wreck. And it was just this beautiful mix of people who just all kind of knew exactly what role they fit into and asked no questions and just got the job done. We wanted to recreate that feeling in its own event. So the flow of Blockade Runner is when you start the mission, you will receive marker points of potential sites where a pirate could be that has stolen cargo from the station that's requesting its return.
A hostile enemy force has attacked one of the LEOs throughout Stanton, and they've stolen a great deal of Zeta
Yo,
Prolina.
Brigadier Bo, thank you for the sub. Hey, we already beat our freaking... Pretty sure... Thank you, man. I appreciate you. 8 months in. He's a homie. And welcome to onboarding on the event team, dude. Brigadier Bo doing big things in GII. Appreciate you, buddy.
From it. This Zeta Prolinide's been shipped out, it's being carried away, and the remainder of the enemy force has stayed behind, surrounding the LEO in a blockade. It's up to players of the verse to chase down these enemy ships that contain the stolen material, defeat them in combat, reclaim the material.
Either via the use of distortion weapons to make sure you get every piece of cargo that's on board the ship, or via killing it and maybe getting less, but
Brother,
less of the risk of dying
all we've seen is combat so far.
yourself.
Once they do recover the stolen material from the ships scattered throughout space, they'll have
There we go.
to make their way past the blockade and return it to the LEO.
There will be ships flying around that you have to actually disable while trying to land, or else you could lose all of your cargo.
Either way, their goal is to land safely at the LEO with the stolen material on. And once they have that, they get to use our fancy new cargo elevator mechanic to return the stolen cargo to the station.
See, that's what the whole event should be around, right? Is like these new freight elevators, cargo functionality, maybe the idea of mixing multi-size boxes. Like, I feel like they could have done a humanitarian aid kind of thing or something. Maybe like something that requires you to consolidate multiple types of cargo in one location. Like keep the whole seas, but instead of those being Ninetales or whatever pirate gang whole seas, like make those, I don't know, UEE or CDF whole seas, and you have to go and get cargo from the different planets and bring it to them in a certain amount of time that is difficult because of the locations where those things are. Like maybe a little bit of combat on the ground, but I don't know.
The reward for blockade is based off of participation. There will be, similar to Xenothreat, there'll be a bar that fills up with contribution.
And just to be clear, I'm not saying that this game shouldn't have combat. More so that this is like a monumental change to the game, the cargo changes that are going on. It would feel more appropriate to center it completely around that. I like that they're redoing Ninetales Lockdown, but it feels like this is a killing two birds with one stone kind of thing, and maybe not making this sound like a cargo event would be a little more on topic.
Every time that bar kind of ticks over, you'll get a payment, and then you'll get a big chunk at the end when all of the SCU amount of cargo has been retrieved back to the station. So to get all of the cargo, I'd recommend using distortion weapons and boarding the ship. This way you can ensure that you get everything out of the cargo hold.
Okay, that's
Whereas
sick.
if you do it the other way, you know, you go from this 100% sort of loot to maybe 30%. There's going to be a big difference to encourage a different type of gameplay that players aren't really used to playing in our game.
Yeah, playing it with a different type of combat is at least good.
In our game are a bit drawn out, and I like to think that you can get into the action pretty quick with this, and it's a relatively tight game loop, all things considering. I hope people will be able to jump in and out of it as they see fit and have a good time.
What's up, Anno? How you doing, dude? Thanks for being here, buddy. Hope
In
you're having a
addition
good
to
life
blockade
right now.
We're also adding a bunch of hauling missions that also utilize the freight elevator and instance hangars we're going to get.
With the introduction of freight elevators, we can now make missions that we were never able to make before.
Up until now, we haven't really had any missions which allow you to use your cargo grid. You won't have to go to various different parts of a station or find a ground station to get your land vehicle. You'll be able to get everything you need for your
Look at the thing. It's just dwarfed on that elevator.
Ground station to get your land vehicle. You'll be able to get everything you need for your trip organized in one place.
Now, I can just go to my hangar and there's an ASOP terminal in there, and I can watch my ship go down and come up, and I can have all my boxes out. The ability it gives me to build the missions that I love is insane.
So for me as an economy designer, freight elevators means that I can reward players for new game loops and different types of activity that they haven't been able to fully play before, such as loading and unloading your cargo, figuring out logistics.
Somebody was literally like in the, I tweeted the other day about these changes, and somebody replied. They're like, oh yeah, moving cargo physically, but with no cargo moving tools. And like they're showing a bunch of cargo moving tools. People were like, what the f are you talking about? We got tractor beams and trolleys and stuff.
We played before, such as loading and unloading your cargo, figuring out logistics, and actually allowing players to monetize that effort.
And that I'm sorry I'm stopping so much. This is a pretty interesting episode. That just straight up showed how bad the placement for the tractor beam is on the Caterpillar. Like you can actually see how you can't get something into the cargo bays without running into the wall and dropping the item on accident anyways.
Monetize that effort and get suitable
answer to that though. I believe they've already shown the answer to that. Oh, look at that. You already have the page open for it. I hope at least that they start to, let's see, they start to standardize what they showed on the Zeus CL concept art last year, which if we could scroll through, hold on, let's just, the old fashioned way. There we go. This telescoping tractor beam, I feel like would be really nice on ships like the Caterpillar and even like some of the other ones like the Spirit. Because this is going to help a ton with moving stuff, and these tractor beams are just not put in the best parts in some of these ships.
Reward for it. So the more time and effort that it takes to use the freight elevators and do the hauling missions effectively, the more opportunities I have as an economy designer to find the appropriate rewards for players for that game loop. And I don't want to see any Reddit threads on the rewards for these missions, because at the time of filming, we're still weeks away.
Were there any Reddit
That
threads?
means the numbers you see in this episode aren't the real numbers. Don't go to Reddit. Give this guy a break.
Were there Reddit threads, folks?
The thing comes out.
Yeah? Nice, dude. There's got to be Reddit threads.
You might be thinking, well, we've been moving boxes for a few years now. Those delivery missions already exist.
We've been
What
trying
makes cargo
to.
hauling missions so special? Well, in cargo hauling missions, we're actually allowing you to move real commodity containers with real value through the verse. You're not stuck with 1 SEU boxes. If you're asked to move 400 SEU, those will actually be intelligently packed by the system into different container sizes, which means you'll be able to load them up on your cargo grids for your cargo ships the way you've always wanted to organize them.
These missions will handle high volume of cargo. These missions are built for people who are going to own a Caterpillar, people who are going to own a Hull C. These are mimicking a logistical framework that's going to be needed in, you know, a system, a universe this big to transport the goods to and from different locations.
Let me give you some examples.
This is going to be interesting because we already see, and you know, we've talked about it a lot over the years, that there were going to be things like this that come up and people are going to see it and be like, oh no, this game, I don't want to do that. That's not, it's too much. It's too slow. And it's going to be interesting to see. This is going to slow down the game for cargo hauling for sure. And like he said, it depends on the payouts, depends on, I think, a lot of the extra stuff that happens when you're en route. Little things that pop up, you know, distress beacons, maybe getting held up somewhere, like little interesting bits that you could take if you wanted to on a cargo hauling mission. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see how many people decide that cargo hauling is just not for them because of this. I think there's like small scale cargo hauling needs to have value. There needs to be very high quality, low quantity cargo so that people with small ships who don't want to spend 20 minutes loading their ship and just want to spend like a couple minutes getting stuff in can still make a decent amount of payment. And those people obviously would still be at high risk because, you know, if pirates scan you and they see you've got 7 quantum drives, that's obviously more valuable than, say, 20 tons of titanium. Like you would still have that danger when you're doing the small scale stuff, but you would still get a ton of profit if you do it well. And I think that's important for this too.
You find a mission where a few different outposts on the surface of Hurston have mined some iron, and you've got to bring it up to Lorville, where then it can be transported further from there. So you go to each of these outposts, you land at that location, and there, in the warehouse of that outpost, those containers will be waiting for you where you can call it up through the freight elevator. You load it up into your ship, and then you figure out what the next location is, and the next location, and the next location.
Sorry. You can see that they are already kind of pushing that. I don't even know what, dang it, I don't know what that picture is saved as. They're already kind of pushing that economy of scale with these missions. Even in this video, they're showing us the specific ships that would be doing the specific jobs. Like they're showing the Hull C's taking the space jobs, doing the big deliveries from system or from station to station, and eventually star system to star system. And then they're showing like these smaller ships, like the Hull A, Hull B, or the Spirit, or even the Caterpillar. Caterpillar's getting kind of up there, running the smaller scale missions from the outposts, like he's saying. That's something they talked about a couple weeks ago, and I'm sure it's something they'll talk about in the Star Citizen Live after this too. But I love that. I love that kind of thing.
You like.
You'll have single pickup, single drop-off, so this could be picking up from the LEOs around ArtCorp, the Lagrange points, for example, and taking it to Area 18 or to Beijing Point, the station above. Then you'll have a multi-pickup and a singular drop-off. And then the opposite of that, which is singular pickup to multi-drop-off, could be the complete opposite, where you go from a Hurston DC to 2 other outposts delivering goods. It also lets us do a first static setup of what is being called StarSim, where we can test out the flow and then...
He said it.
...and actually make the dynamic side of it work, where we can balance it based off of the needs and wants of the actual locations.
Yeah, that's a big part, and I think I'm still waiting to see how they handle that, because they're mentioning here if a space station asks for cargo, when you deliver that cargo, is there somebody else who's getting a mission to deliver that cargo from that space station to somewhere else, or is that just going to disappear into the ether, into Quantum or Star Sim, which they're in this point where they're like saying both Quantum and Star Sim, and I feel like we're in that slow process of changing over.
The work that I was involved with missions with Yorit was to use the EVR algorithm that I created to make sure that all of the effort that you put in has a commensurate reward. EVR stands for effort versus reward. The EVR algorithm is a general balancing algorithm we've developed that takes into account the time and the difficulty of what you're doing, and it gives you a reward that is appropriate for that. So if you do something that takes a long time but isn't very difficult, or if you do something that takes a short time but is very difficult, you're going to get appropriately rewarded. So obviously, this kind of thing, effort and reward, isn't a new concept. It's been around since the beginning of computer games. But as the economy team moves forwards and we work on all of the exciting new features that are coming out, we're really happy to be able to bring this kind of coherent approach to the entire game economy.
In the end, cargo hauling missions aren't about how good you are at shooting the bad guys. It's about figuring out which hauls the universe needs. And ultimately, it's about having fun delivering some boxes. Thanks for watching, everybody.
So what did we learn this week? Well, hopefully that the cargo missions aim to provide a
short
more
one.
involved and deliberate experience than the commodity ones you might be used to. That the blockade runner will benefit from boarding tactics more than simply just blowing things up. And that while your everyday life in the verse certainly changes in Alpha 324, it will continue.
I don't know. I
to
saw a lot of blowing things up.
in 4.0 and beyond. And if you'd like to learn even more about these cargo missions, you can tune in to tomorrow's Star Citizen Live, where the team will talk even more about the stuff you saw here. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you. And we'll see you all here next week.
All right, cool. So that's where we're headed next. We're going to go check out that Star Citizen Live and get more detail, which is going to be more of a conversation. So we'll be, obviously also having more of a conversation. But I think this is a great change in my opinion. This really establishes the world of cargo hauling, which isn't necessarily supposed to just be a general thing that you pick up in as a casual player. Like you can, right? You can do little jobs as a casual player, but it would be weird to have this super deep, super self-sustaining system of combat, whether it's FPS or on the ship. And these people are just like running missions, interacting with factions, learning guns, learning tactics, all these things. And then cargo hauling is literally just press a button, take a box, deliver it, and like you can kind of know the price differences. Like it makes sense for them to separate cargo hauling into its own world, where you can have people who specialize in doing one part of that cargo hauling thing, or somebody who likes to do it all. I think that's good. The blockade runner thing, that's an interesting one. I think I might make a video about that, to be honest, because they are so stuck on combat. And you know what I think it is combat's just always been there. It's always been easy to produce, relatively speaking, easy to produce in the game. They've always had ships that pew pew. They've always had ships that blow up. And they've always had NPCs that go, whenever you shoot them. It's like very built into the game. It's easy to include in just about everything we do. And it is easy to make content out of. What I have been hoping they would do more of was start to build in more of the industrial stuff, because we're starting to see things like the cargo refactor and mining taking a step up and salvage getting missions. But even then, they're still relying on combat to push those things. And I do hope that, the next... They've talked about a couple of other global events, but I don't think those have moved forward very much. Whatever they do next, I really do hope that they focus on it being a purely industrial kind of thing. Not to say combat can't happen, because we live in a verse that allows for all types of gameplay at all times, but I really hope that they can focus on making people aware that this game is not all combat. And again, that's not to say combat should be limited in any space. I don't believe that. In fact, like when it comes to the outposts and the danger of loading stuff in outposts and stuff, give us turrets, right? Give us sensors and turrets that just yeet people out of existence if they start opening fire on other people. Deterrent kind of stuff. Obviously, by the time they shoot you, you're already shot, so that kind of sucks. But if they give us turrets that are strong enough to just straight knock people out of the sky or kill them immediately on the ground, people are less likely to gank you when you're doing your cargo loading at an outpost. And you know, balance the amount of turrets and the amount of security on each place based on what that place is. They have tons and tons of modularity with this system. They could put they gave us turrets. Remember those like chain gun turrets that they gave us back in like 2020 that have never been used at all? Make those AI controlled and then start defending us with them. I don't know, I think they've got a decent balance on combat now. They need to start focusing harder on industry and economy, and maybe that's something that's slowly starting to happen. But to call Blockade Runner a non-combat focused event is... There's a lot of explosions, man. And not like cargo explosions. Those are like people explosions. You can hire an escort too. But I think that it makes sense for like outposts to have their own security. You know, it'd be pretty weird for places to be like, yeah, we host valuable cargo, but you have to protect it because we're not going to do anything for it. That would be strange. Escorts for space, escorts for in and out of atmosphere. But when you're actually at a point of interest, they should probably be chipping in a little bit to help out. Am I saying they need to add D turrets? D. You need to get turrets to fight off your turrets, you know? Eventually we'll just have a game where a bunch of turrets are firing at each other. And what are we doing? Just watching. Fantastic. All right, let's step into Star Citizen Live and see what they've got to say here. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah, Mrs. T, we're probably going to be a bit earlier. I got through that faster than I thought. But yeah, let's see what Star Citizen Live has for us, because I do think this might start quite a bit of conversation. You know what, actually, before we get into this, let's go back and look at missions in general, because there are a decent amount of missions that they have not delivered yet, that they talked about last year. Is this it? No. I think this might be it. Let me see. Nice. Blockade Runner. No, this is not it. Is this it? Yes, it is. Okay. So I'm going to jump to the ones that we know we're supposed to have. See, I guess they've added quite a few of these. Really, it was just this last one that they still haven't added. And mining missions. They used to talk about mining missions on the monthly reports, and we have not gotten any mining missions yet, which is a real bummer, because I think the salvage missions help people get into salvage, and mining is still kind of just out there, sitting out there. Non-combat missions are a little like a forgotten feature. Well, they've never offered it to us as a feature, so... They could just do mining events. Hurston needs 500 million tons of iron to build a new stature. Something they mentioned here I liked was that they were talking about missions that they could start to build out that didn't matter how you acquired the stuff that the companies needed. You just needed to get it and deliver it. So that'd be cool. You get a cargo mission that requires you to get a certain amount of iron, and then you turn around and you give out a player beacon and tell somebody, hey, I need you to mine this much iron and deliver it to me. And then you can run your mission based off their work. Good times. Zoster, thank you for the sub, mate. Appreciate you. 15 months. You guys are knocking it out of the park on Twitch today. All right, so this is one mission that they talked about last year that we still have not seen. Not sure why, but it's another combat mission, so, you know, of course.
One of the things farther ahead that we're working on is barge heist. It's basically taking what we know to be popular and fun in this game, so something like Jump Town, but we're making it have a finite resource and a much more interesting location.
What we're doing is allowing players to buy in information similar to how how some of the salvage contracts work. And from there, they get the information about where this cargo barge is, owned by Crusader, and happens to be just in the middle of this heist situation where the Ninetales are taking it over and they're trying to take all this stuff from Crusader.
It's the barge that we use in Siege of Horizon, heavily modified, so there'll be lots of entrances and exits. What's great about using the barge is that we can put it anywhere on Crusader, you know, far away from the landing zones and anything that, you know, may cause performance to dip. So there should be no performance impacts.
We've placed a terminal, a cargo terminal, inside of the container interior of the barge. And when players find this terminal, they can turn it on to open various containers using different kinds of ID codes found in the environment.
Basically, you unlock several cargo containers belonging to different companies, and different companies have different items in there.
So hopefully, players will learn which
You
container
just find a cargo container full of space cows.
might contain what types of materials based on the brands, right? Crusader Industries is transporting completely different types of loot than maybe, say, ArcCorp is.
The cargo containers open all in different rooms around that location. You're fighting over every single box, trying to hold down like a room. There's no way you can hold down the entire thing unless you hold all the entrances. The location is so, like so much of a maze. You'll have people stumbling in and out of it and lots of people wondering, you know, oh, is this person here to steal a box or is he just trying to get through to the next room?
What we really wanted to achieve with this is give the players complete freedom of which side to take. You don't take a contract from Crusader asking for help or from Ninetales wanting you to help them to take something.
In future, when we have reputation-based hostility and you can make friends with these guys, they will be your cover. So I can see plenty of exciting PvP action that's going to come from this mission. So that's a brief look at some of the things the mission team has been working on recently. We can't wait to get in your hands, especially the ship trespass system. That's going to change the game completely. And yeah, personally, I'm really excited about barge heist. So thanks for watching.
I like how YouTube recognized that as bar chase instead of barge heist. So that's just one mission. I don't think there was anything else in here that they hadn't talked about. This is just really talking about the creation of missions, which is an interesting watch. But let's get to the Star Citizen Live and listen to what's new. And then we can chat about it, yeah? Yeah, it was another combat event. What do you know?
Are we recording? Are we live? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Star Citizen Not So Live. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee, with a special pre-recorded take 2 of our Making Missions 2 Q&A. I'm going to start over again. No, I'm not. We're going to keep going. Joining us on the show this week are 2 members of the esteemed mission design team, Elliot and Nick. Elliot and Nick, say hi.
Nick.
Hi, hello. And
Nick and Elliot.
Nick's not a part of my team. I don't want that guy.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, I'm sorry. Nick's on the economy team, and Elliot's on the mission design team.
I've got my own Nick.
That's right. You've got Nick Urko. Which
Hey,
we met.
there's enough.
What does that say? This is here so you can't see James doing pyro stuff?
Design team.
I've got my own Nick.
James, bring out the pyro stuff. No, I'm kidding. Forget the freaking pyro stuff. Show us Nick's.
That's right. You've got Nick Urko. Which we
Hey,
met.
there's enough.
And I don't mean Nick's as in like multiple Nick.
Which we
Show us the
met,
system
on
Nicks.
yesterday's ISC, which went out, and hopefully you've all watched it because it contains important information for what we're going to talk about today.
We just
I
did.
say yesterday, but we're recording this on Wednesday, so for us it's really tomorrow, but for you who's watching it, it's Wednesday, and that's time travel. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, we had Making Missions 2, where we invited Yorit and Nick on. They sat here and they showed you the process of making these new cargo missions that are going live with Alpha 324. We talked a bit about EVR and how they plug into the upcoming quantum system or star sim or whatever the heck we're calling it now and stuff like this. Then we were meant to follow up last week. We took some questions. Last week we had some technical issues, just won't go into it. We're here now with a pre-recorded show. We're going to jump right into the questions and stop wasting any more time because with the two guests that we have, we're probably going to go over an hour. We'll find out.
Sounds good.
So we have taken the questions from you, the Star Citizen Star Citizen citizen. See, this doesn't get any better when it's pre-recorded. And we put them to Elliot and, don't look at me like that. We put them to Elliot and Nick, and they picked the ones they want to answer. So let's start off right off the bat. What kind of containers will hauling missions use, and how can I see that?
Box
will
ones.
I have to load 101 SCU boxes, or what?
No, you won't have to load. Well, you won't have to load 101 1SCU boxes. You might have to load 6 1SCU boxes. But the missions are designed so that the SCU, the amount of SCU and the size of the box is based on the ideal ship for the grade of the mission, so that you can do the mission in one run if you have the appropriately sized ship.
So the ideal ship for the grade of the mission. So you're saying that
I think it's key to note that that means you can still run cargo missions with a ship too small for the mission if you just make good time. You could deliver stuff and then go back and get more if you're really into that.
each of these missions are designed with a certain size or scope of ship in mind?
That's right.
When we go over them and we're planning out the grades and the difficulties, we will look to go right. This one,
Simon, did you miss they just mentioned the quantum economy linking into these missions in the Inside Star Citizen we just watched. Like, they just mentioned it. These are going to be tied into the simulation.
is one that we class for, say, a caterpillar. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to have a caterpillar to do it. It's just kind of the grading that we do. So we'll go caterpillar. That means this much SCU. You could do it in a Pisces if you want. It's just going to take quite a bit longer, and you might have to leave the back door of your Pisces open with a 32 SCU stuck out of it. But that's how you want to play the game.
And
sure.
somebody
you have to
will.
put a flag on it. Got to
Yeah,
put a
so-
flag on it too, otherwise it's illegal.
Don't say that. unless
Yeah,
you're
you
gonna-
have to have a ship that can fit the boxes. But like one SU box is basically any ship can carry that has a cargo grid.
I'll let them.
You shouldn't put a flag on it.
You dug yourself a hole. This is all you.
Yeah, Wednesday shows, man. If you thought Friday shows were weird. So how are we communicating to that to the player? That this mission is designed for a specific size or scale of ship. How will players know what the ideal is supposed to be?
So, it's all in the contract details. So before, we just used to have the description on the contract, and we used to have to expose a lot of information to it, and it always kind of restricted the granularity of the information we can do. With the cargo hauling update, we got the ability to pre-generate all of the objectives. So when you go in your mobiGlas to accept the contract, you'll see the description, which is the narrative for the mission on the left, and on the right you'll see all of the your delivery itinerary, and you'll see every single commodity, and you'll see the amount of cargo you have to haul. Now, as for the specific sizes of boxes, unfortunately, at the moment, that isn't something we can display, so you won't actually know that it's going to give you a 16 SCU box and give you 4 of them to meet the sort of max you've got to haul. But that is somewhere we want to go for the future.
Okay.
Classic.
Kind of goes into the next question here. Can we pick the size of the box that the cargo hauling mission will spawn? Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, it doesn't.
No, not currently. It's
How's the sound?
something.
Should I boost it a little bit? Seems a little bit quiet. When is 3.24 planned to be out? Sounds like a few weeks from now. Planned. Never go by the plan.
Think that we'd like to get to on the design side, on the mission design side, because it gives more ability for the player to pick and know how they fit. You know, say you're doing some emergent economy trading with your commodities, right? And you've got space for, you know, a little bit of extra cargo, and you're going to a same place. You've spotted a mission that goes to that place where you're going to sell your goods emergently. You might be like, right, well, if they was all in like 2 SCU boxes, I could fit more in. So we want to get to that direction.
Put them on someone's lap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carry them.
I think we talked about this on SCL. The question says, can we use our own commodities or commodities that we have found to complete these hauling missions?
No.
Soon.
TM.
TM.
No, Not like so the hauling missions as they are. These are tracked, contracted goods. So this company has already owned these commodities, and they're asking you to transport them from A to B. However, what that open question is kind of alluding to is more resource gathering missions. So we will have missions where you are asked to just get 10 copion horns, or this refinery just wants X amount of raw iron, and the player can get them by their own means. For example, you could go mine it yourself. You could pirate it and use it for the mission and things like that. So in the future, we will have missions that allow you to get the commodities via your own means.
And you just go to Wish and get the Wish version of whatever you're supposed to be delivering on the cheap.
On the cheap.
Okay, but not in 324.
No.
All right. How will players earn reputation and progress in the hauling missions in the guild?
So there is the current hauling missions are actually using the same reputation system that's in the game at the moment. So similar to the mercenary missions. So you see your progression in Delphi like you do right now. In the future, there is a whole new system coming, which I think we mentioned in SEL is being designed by Luke Presley, and Economy's been involved in that as well, because EVR handles any kind of reward, whether that's UBC or rep or whatever it is. So that will be a bit like EVR is holistic for UEC. It will also be holistic for reputation, but that's not for 324. That's coming later.
We're using
we've been waiting for a proper reputation system for such a freaking long time. I'm glad they picked reputation back up. I think it was towards the beginning of last year, because it's basically the main progression in this game besides money. But you can buy money. You can't buy reputation. But yeah, no idea what soon means. I don't think that's going to be 4.0. I don't even think that would be this year.
I mean, it's no secret we're not always the best at naming things, but we're using cargo missions and hauling missions interchangeably. Do we have are we just calling them all hauling missions, or are they
quantum cargo
missions, or?
This is something I know we're going to get into a bit later, but essentially the simplest form we look at it is there's hauling and there's courier. Hauling is large volume moving of commodities, and courier is meant to be like you're the Amazon guy, right? You've got maybe 5 boxes, but they're all personal. They've all been directly requested by someone. So they're the sort of two delineations we're going with.
And they're all within cargo missions.
Yeah, they're all within sort of the delivery general scope of it. So there's delivery, hauling, courier.
Okay. Hey, David, we should change that graphic on ISC since it hasn't gone out yet. So the work in progress box is cargo missions. We should change it to hauling missions.
Quantum cargo.
And that's what you get on a pre-tape.
Thank you.
Let's see. Next question says, well, it's a statement. Don't make a theme park, CIG. Oh, okay. So obviously making missions and everything, it's essentially adding rails to what's supposed to be a sandbox game. This is a forever consideration for you. We hope that CIG don't just put all the gameplay on rails and stop us from making their own emergent opportunities. There's not actually a question there. That's just a statement.
But also, like, why would you think that, man? Look at the way that this game's been built so far. Most of the game doesn't have rails. People don't even know what the heck to do when they get into this game. Why would you think that they're just suddenly going to go from this like crazy theme sandbox thing to everything's behind missions? That's such a weird take.
It's just a statement, yes. So I guess the person doesn't like theme parks. Theme parks are meant to be fun, so I guess you don't want a fun game, right? No. No, how we see missions is missions are, and I know people take the piss currently, but missions are meant to be more narrative-driven stories in the game. But we also use them as a vehicle to introduce players to the more emergent aspects of the world. So the hauling missions are meant to show players a connection of commodities between locations, which then, like, now they know that this place trades in iron and this place wants iron, and they can look at the commodity terminals and goes, well, that sells for this much, and that buys for this much. I could actually make a profit if I ignore the mission and just do
Exactly.
it without the mission. That's what it's there for. It's to expose a gameplay route.
Missions are tutorials. Like that's the way I see it. You've got all these gameplay professions. You got mining and hauling and salvage, combat. All these things you can run on the missions to learn how they work and then go and do it yourself. Missions are basically just tutorials for the gameplay they want us to do in our own way. Well,
something we
I
found
hope.
very successful when we first did salvage, and Thorsten Lehman loves me for this, but when we first did salvage, and we put out the hull scraping, in its first release we saw some people play it, but it wasn't as much of a boom. But when we released the missions, which acted as an easy way to show the players the salvage gameplay, we saw a huge spike in people playing salvage, and that's just generally how we look at missions. It's to introduce players to the sandbox nature of our game easily, so then if they wish to break away from missions, just start doing sandbox things, they can.
And I mean, you don't need a mission to ask someone to escort you either, you know? So it's not like they have to have an escort mission. So if you're thinking about the balance between missions and emergent gameplay, then hauling missions with an escort is a good example of those two things working together.
Almost like you don't need a mission to explore. Wow.
Different types of cargo are always fun. This next question says, are alternative forms of cargo, things like hazardous waste, radioactives, we used to have
Space cows.
some of that, packed up vehicles, time-sensitive stuff, small stuff, data, are all of this still in the cards?
Space cows.
Yeah, data running is its own beast. I'm not going to touch that. But all of the other commodities definitely so.
And that's what I'm waiting for. Data running is going to be hot. Well, I hope.
The future idea is we want these like kind of like certifications, gradings, where you have to sort of show that you can haul radioactive goods or haul livestock,
Space
and look after it
cows!
appropriately to then sort of unlock those missions. But yeah, no, that is the plan. That's something we want. We want you to be able to haul these different things because they all introduce their own challenging, right? Whereas a simple box mission from A to B might be quite simple, and you think, well, I just sit in my ship. When you're like, right now, I've got to haul livestock, the atmosphere of your ship's got to be right so they can breathe the correct mix of oxygen, air, and nitrogen, things like that. You've got to make sure that you feed them, stuff like that. That's the idea of what we go towards. Things like if we have perishable goods like food, you've got to make sure that it stays cold so that they are frozen. You make sure that their crate stays at a certain temperature so it can prolong the lifespan of the food so it doesn't go rotten by the time you get to your destination. Things like that.
Make sure that the cows aren't flying around in your cargo hold as you twist and turn out of the atmosphere. I'm gonna kill so many space cows doing cargo runs like that. The statement's a bit troubling because you feel like the mission system is the best way to link up with players who want an escort and want to fly as an escort. I don't think they're saying that they won't have escort missions. I think they're just trying to imply that you don't need a mission to do things. You can figure things out on your own and do them if you'd like, because missions aren't required. Like, missions will be there for the people who want them, and they'll not be there for the people who don't. You still don't fully understand how the data running mechanic will work? Don't worry, nobody does. None of us know. I don't know if CIG knows, man. I mean, they hint at it and they talk about it a little bit, downloading maps and stuff and transferring waypoints and finding out information. And in the lore, there are reasons for data running, but as far as the actual mechanics work, I don't know. I don't know, baby. And honestly, it's what I'm most excited for. And it's what I probably have the highest probability of getting disappointed by in this game. So I hope it's good, but I don't know what it's going to be like. You see the value in both? Nice to come up with your own purpose. Other times it's nice to be given direction. Yeah. Sometimes I just want to hop into the game and get told what to do. Sometimes I want to just do the do and then blow up when I realize I'm doing it wrong. Good luck getting the whole C to work. Yeah, well, that's a different challenge.
Makes sense. You're gonna put animals in boxes?
It's quite possible. It might be that, I can't... It'd make my life a hell of a lot easier if I just slap a box on make it.
Instead of trying to herd animals on your ship?
Instead of so like, here's a box, it's got a cow in it, I make the box go moo every now and then, and the box moves.
Although, oh gosh, forcing Chad McKinney to make animals stick to the cargo grid, that could be fun.
That's why I'm glad he lives in America and I live in England, because he'd try to kill me if I just come to him with that request.
Will hauling missions, or any missions, ever make use of ground vehicles?
Hopefully, yeah. It's something that we've talked about, and it's something that we'd like, the ability to go between sort of two outposts. But there's a lot of things required to make that a good experience, along with the aspect of why would you do it? Like there will be people who just like, I want to drive ground vehicle, I'm gonna do it.
Okay, that makes it sound like they have not actually planned to have vehicle transport be a thing, which sucks, but I hope is something that they're planning on, because it's like vehicle transport seems like a pretty good choice for missions. Have the ability to assign somebody the job of taking ships or vehicles to another star system or something. I think that's kind of what the Liberator is for, right? And again, you don't need missions for everything. You can do that without a mission. But it would be cool to be able to do that for a mission, just to get your beak wet.
The delivery between A and B, but then you'll get economy Nick here going, but it's not efficient, you're not earning the money in the best way, you're taking all your time.
I think the principal concern you might have is, but what about all of that orbital bombardment that is slowing down your convoy?
Yeah, potato.
I need you. I need you like center yourself in the frame. You're bouncing off, and you're on. I'm just gonna do the show over here. You do the show on the left. I'll do the show on the right. Switch back to Elliot. How's that look? There we go. Oh, you're centered more.
He's very centered. Look at him. He's standing still. He looks like a kid that was lining up for class, like in grade school. Like you're about to get counted. You're about to get assigned your number for the class activity. You're just like, okay.
Oh, you're centered more. Hold on.
I'm ready.
Kind of off center. There we go. Pre-tape's no better.
Pace.
Cargo is big. You mentioned that there's the hauling mission.
Just to reiterate, Christian, they're not making everything a mission. Or do you mean like having missions available for everything? Because it's not going to take away the fact that you can do stuff not in missions. It's just like we need something to introduce people to gameplay. It's not fair to tell people, yeah, you can do mining, but you got to figure out everything about it. Like a mission that tells you need something for mining is great, because then you learn to get that stuff for mining and then go and do it yourself. I don't know. I think one of the things that this game has missed for such a long time are introductions to this stuff. A lot of people don't even know you can do mining or larger scale cargo hauling. They think like the courier missions are the only things you can run in terms of cargo. You want to know if they still plan two types of hacking, a more general multi-game and then a more advanced version? I think they're just doing like a one type, really. I would imagine it's taken them this long to do just one. I hope there's not two. There'll probably be harsh planets. It's not safe to fly in. The ground vehicles are the choice. Yeah, there will be requirements for ground vehicles, for sure. That's something that was in CitizenCon 2016, I think. 2016? Yeah, the Planet Tech demo they did. There are more ways to guiding a user. Yeah, but if an NPC tells you something, why not just pay them for it? Like, if you were to start the game and somebody was like, hey, you could take this box up to that space station. You just got to put the box in your ship and then fly up to the station and then offload it on the freight elevator. Why not just get paid for that? Sandbox games need an intro for mechanics in the game or it will instantly fail in the general market. Yeah, it's going to be a really steep learning curve if they don't have some way to teach people this stuff. Some way that has an incentive that encourages people to actually do the learning.
And then the courier missions were just smaller boxes, smaller quantities of boxes. Would you ever consider something so small that you would carry it on you, like in one of your pouches, a real like secret agent kind of thing, where only you know you have it. There's no outward indicator you're carrying it. And people
So, I
would have
mean,
to hunt you down.
So that's like that is those things need transporting, obviously, but the hauler missions are specifically for the large scale logistics. So the hauling missions tend to generate the kinds of quantities that need to be transported at large scale. But like you have said, and like Elliot has just said before, different commodities, different items could be transported with different types of logistic mission, let's call them.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that courier missions would definitely tie into, because they are more personal requests. So that'd be a courier type thing.
Player contract. You got more?
Oh, sorry, Jared. I was just thinking. One of the main questions that came up was just because we have a large ship, or just because we have been doing hauling missions for a while, we've got a lot of reputation. We've been doing this gameplay for a while. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't still want to take more risky, high value, smaller volume missions. Is that going to be what happens in hauling? So that won't necessarily be what happens in the hauling career, specifically because of the volumes in hauling. But that doesn't mean that those kinds of high risk, small volume, high value commodities won't need trading and won't have their own place in logistics.
Cool.
Okay.
That's what we were talking about during the ISC. It'd be nice if there was more purpose for ground vehicles. Heck yeah. Right now, you don't really need them that much unless you're going in for an outpost or something, or a cave. I think they could do a lot with caves to help improve that. Also, if the missions are a decent way to make cash, it will be the first great for a small game times. And second, there are people who don't want a sandbox for them as the missions. Yeah, different types of gameplay.
Player contracts and job boards. Will players ever be able to set up contracts to have cargo or items hauled by other players?
So we do have player beacons, and I know what that current state of that is, but
AAK, are you in the chat? Are you in the chat right now, buddy? Are you frothing? Absolutely livid. Player beacons, man, triggering you.
That is
it, Nick?
a
What is
system.
the current state? Go ahead, admit it.
Worked perfectly.
It's a feature, but that's something which we. It's like the economy. It's
crumbling.
Sorry.
Absolutely crumbling and in disrepair. Yes, indeed, it is like the economy. Reese, buddy, yo, 43 freaking months. Oh my gosh, that's like almost as old as my niece, man. Thank you for the freaking sub. Holy crap, tier 1, 43 months. Much appreciation. And irate caveman, feeling irate with the subs. Much love to you. 1 month at tier 1. You guys on Twitch, you're twitching it up, which might not be a good thing. Get that checked. Hey, they laughed at my joke.
Karen, Nick.
okay.
You know, this is pre-recorded, and if that still makes it into the show, know that I don't value my job. That'll probably still be in the show. I mean, it's just look.
We all know it's not a secret. The economy sucks. Player beacons are trash. Like, these are things that need to be fixed.
We're just going to leave that in because I've said it before. We have the same conversations you do. The same exact things you guys talk about, the same concerns that you have. We say all the same things, just 12 weeks before you do. We recognize that some of these systems still have work to do, still need love. I'm going to ask Elliot about box missions, so don't you worry.
This is Jared underestimating just how quickly we complain about things. 12 weeks?
Us not thinking it's important. It's just there's a very long list of things that we're doing for Star Citizen that we still have to do.
We complain about things before we even know about them.
Being very aware of it, and sometimes you just have to kind of go, yeah, we know.
If we don't, we'd all be depressed, right?
Yep.
Gotta have fun to make fun.
So just take it as us being like you. And we understand it. We're aware of it. It's on the list. And just all we can ask for is patience while we try to get to everything. All right. Continue with whatever we were talking about. I've forgotten now. Player concepts.
So to answer the question, Elliot, the beacon system is something which provides for players to contract other players and it's a system we will be looking to expand upon in the future. And personally, I think that this side of the economy is fundamental, given that we are having a hybrid economy. So player-driven systems.
Yeah, that's
sustained.
Space Tomato. Clip it. Fundamentally said.
What? Wait, say again? That was unexpected.
Is fundamental, given that we are having a side of the economy is fundamental, given that
What's fundamental?
This side of the economy is fundamental, given that we are having a hybrid economy. So player-driven systems
Yeah, that's
sustained.
Space Tomato. Clip it.
Oh, I hear it.
Fundamentally said.
Yes. Yeah, it really is. It's.
Thank you, Elliot. You know our qualms. Fundamental.
I don't think
it's getting clipped.
I've been, like I said, I'm going on 10 years here now. I've had 100 conversations with Tony and with everybody else who's involved with this stuff, and I cannot overstate how important the player-driven aspect of our economy is to us. It's just things like the player beacon system and stuff. It's just waiting for the eye of development, Sauron, to turn its eye back to it. Resources to free up, new technologies to work on. A lot of this stuff, it's like, you don't want to put in a whole bunch of work when you know this other work that you also have to do is going to invalidate that. So we're forced to kind of sit there and grin.
Literally just released a video about this today. If you, all of you who became Twitch subscribers, I'm telling you, go on the Discord server and check out this video. I just released this today. Forgotten features of Star Citizen, why the game's taking so long. This goes into the very, like, the actual idea that these features get dropped and just kind of disappear and then come back at some point because they do this. They just, like, leave it alone for a while, and then 3 years later it comes out of nowhere. Somebody just asked about science. Have they talked about, Tom, you asked, have they talked about science in the last couple of years? They have. They've talked about farming. But where the heck is it? I don't know. I don't know, but it'll come back at some point.
Development Sauron to turn its eye back to it. Resources to free up, new technologies to work on. A lot of this stuff, it's like, you don't want to put in a whole bunch of work when you know this other work that you also have to do is going to invalidate that. So we're forced to kind of sit there and grin and bear certain aspects of this while we're waiting for other new technologies and other new works to come online.
And we're forced to sit there and gnash our teeth.
Fundamentals are a really good word for that, Nick. Thank you. All right. And we'll follow that up with dynamic mission generation. So we go from the players making it to the Star Sim and Quantum making it. Dynamic mission generation, Star Sim / Quantum, was always supposed to dynamically generate missions in response to the activities of players and Quanta. Is this still the plan?
So,
hey, look at that. They're talking about the quantum simulation. And did they call it freaking Quanta?
Activities of players and Quanta. Is this
Never
still
mind.
the plan?
That's the right use of Quanta.
So the short answer is yes. And when we are ready to talk more about that, we absolutely will.
Simon, you were asking about this, right?
We'll be the first to know about it. And I mean, the reason we're doing all this now is because we don't want you to have to wait any longer for this kind of gameplay. But everything we're doing now, even though we're doing it manually, we'll be able to plug into the implementation of StarSim when it's ready. So we're not wasting work, but we just wanted to get this gameplay in so that you don't have to wait any longer.
Right.
But yes, the short answer is yes.
You can make a good point. All that work to spec out StarSim, to design it, to figure it out, that's there. So we can so while it's still hardening and becoming ready, we can sit there and say, okay, well, this plugs into this.
Trying to, your StarSim is hardening. So it seems they're pretty set on StarSim. I wonder when they're going to make it official, because they keep going in the monthly reports and calling it Quantum. Quantum, not Quanta. I'm kind of actually sad. I'm gonna not be able to lose my panties about that anymore. It's okay. I like my panties.
This plugs in this. We just fill in our own values based on, you know, like the spreadsheets and stuff that you showed on SCL last week, and so we can still build missions without having to wait for it. And then when it's ready, plug right in. What happens to the hauling mission that nobody takes?
NPCs. Well,
That's a
AI.
good question. I like that question.
you want to answer that?
Doesn't
I think there's a
StarSim take it
timeout,
over?
right?
Yeah. So.
Talus, you are correct with that. And also, welcome to the stream, buddy. Glad to have you with us.
Missions, as they currently are, they generate based on eligibility and then they stay around for an amount of time. So if there's a cargo hauling mission, it will stay around for, I don't know, like maybe 30 minutes. And if no one accepts it, it shuts itself down and we'll try generate a new one. There might be changes to that are in the future with maybe StarSim that Nick might want to talk about or might not want to, depending. But
okay. This was always a super important part, in my opinion, about the fact, like, people really want this to be a player-driven economy game. I don't think that's necessary. I think that adds a lot of complication to having to make sure that every material gets delivered everywhere by a player on time for things to work. And that's a lot. The fact that they've always focused on the economy, God, I love this shit. The fact that they always focused on the economy being partially driven by the players, but also AI, in my opinion, made a lot of sense, because if you did find yourself in a situation like this, where let's say you were in a system where there were 200 players and it's like a 16 AU system, right? Not a lot of people are going to be around you. You spawn a mission, or you do something that spawns a mission, refueling beacon, transportation beacon, cargo hauling beacon, whatever it is. If no players pick that up at a certain amount of time, it would make sense for the simulation to say, hey, there are 9 times as many AI around than players. Somebody's going to pick it up, whether it's a player or the AI that we've programmed. So it would make sense for them to have an economy that has AI to back up anything that's happening, just in case there aren't players there to fulfill that task. And I really, really hope that's the direction they're headed. And that's what it seemed like they were doing when they originally introduced the quantum system. But we'll have to see if it makes it into the actual function of the game. Because, design is not function, and plans are not, whatever the freaking word is, execution. You remember that they said players would be responsible for 10%. Yeah. Be 9-1, I believe. 9-1, 90% AI, 10% players. StarSim is already a game on Steam. No, it's not connected. It might be a game on Steam, but I don't think they're going to take this and try to trademark it or anything. I think they're just calling their system StarSim.
Right now, they just shut down and then they'll regenerate after a period of time.
So, yeah, what missions are available and what opportunities they present to players is a balance that we're going to have to judge as we go with StarSim, because it is a hybrid economy, and that means that player-driven is really important. But we don't want parts of the universe to be abandoned or
fall into squalor,
to lack input if there aren't enough players there. So it will be player driven, but it will be system maintained.
Gotcha. I feel like the timer question was probably a question more for Yorit. Yeah, Yorit couldn't join us here this week. He had a well-deserved and well-scheduled vacation this week. So when we had to reschedule last week's show, it was really disappointing that he wasn't going to be able to do this. But we didn't want to wait any longer. So
I mean, I've got the data open. I can give you a time, but I don't want to, because then everyone's going to hyper focus on. You said it'd take 13 minutes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. A number early in development that never changes.
Could you imagine? No.
You said, while you were talking, I was imagining like us creating this terrible version of Clippy that shows up. Hey, you want to do a hauling mission? There's hauling missions available.
I'm down for it. Space Clippy, Star Clippy, I guess they'd call it. Let's go. Let's do it. Paper clips in 2954. What do they even look like by then?
That toast that kept forever showing up. The center. We fixed that in 323, didn't we? The constant thing that.
No, that's on my team to fix, and I'm trying to make cargo work, Jared. Right? The constant pop-ups are like down here for me. I had missions that don't complete, man.
There you go, folks. when you're mad that things don't get updated, send all your emails to Elliot. He said those are down there on the list.
That's right. That's right. We do have a Clippy. It's just not nearly as entertaining. There really is no difference between the pre-recorded and the live shows. We just go. Will we get missions in landing zones?
Yes, and yes and no. Yes in the future, no right now.
Somebody just knock on our door? Maybe Mrs. T.
The performance isn't great in landing zones, as I'm sure many players are aware right now. We used to have some missions that were in landing zones for those veterans who can remember.
3.2.
Or if yeah, like in like 3.2. I'm sure Salty Mike will be sat there going, I remember that, and start moaning about something else. Yes, we used to have them, but they used to take like 5 minutes to spawn, and that's because the server is like a box gets put in a spawn queue, and then if people are doing stuff like I'm trying to buy some, I'm trying to spawn my 890 jump or whatever, the box is kind of like a lower priority, so they took ages, and it was just a really bad player experience, so we turned them off for the time being. But when performance at landing zones is improved, and we have, you know, a bit more stability there, by all means, because, you know, the
I'm sorry, I missed all of that. Missions and landing zones. That's good stuff.
3.2.
The performance isn't great in landing zones, as I'm sure many players are aware right now. We used to have some missions that were in landing zones for those veterans who can remember.
The little ones.
3.2.
Or if yeah, like in like 3.2. I'm sure Salty
Oh my
Mike-
gosh, like the box deliveries to... No, that wouldn't have been 3.2. We didn't even have a landing zone in 3.2. Oh, we had Delamar, but we didn't get a landing zone until 3.3 with Lorville. Port Olisar missions? Huh.
Mike will be sat there going, I remember that, and start moaning about something else. Yes, we used to have them, but they used to take like 5 minutes to spawn, and that's because the server is like a box gets put in a spawn queue, and then if people are doing stuff like I'm trying to buy some, I'm trying to spawn my 890 jump or whatever, the box is kind of like a lower priority, so they took ages, and it was just a really bad player experience, so we turned them off for the time being. But when performance at landing zones is improved, and we have, you know, a bit more stability there, by all means, because, you know, the hopeful idea would be that you wake up in a landing zone and have things to do, so it makes it feel like that landing zone's alive and you've got things to do, you know, pick up this trash, deliver someone's pizza, things like that.
No, here, this next one's not a question either. It's just a statement.
Yeah, wait, did he say pizza? Because I feel like we should have pizza delivery missions around cities.
So it makes it feel like that landing zone's alive and you've got things to do, you know, pick up this trash, deliver someone's pizza, things like that.
See, that's what I'm saying. Give us pizza freaking delivery missions, building interiors, apartments and stuff. Oh, come on, let's go. Those are like the beginning missions that, you know, you could take. You don't need no sandbox pizza delivery missions. Nobody wants pizza in their sandbox. That's gross.
No, here, this next one's not a question either. It's just a statement. It says, auto loading times are broken.
Thanks.
Yes. Yeah, we know.
Cheers.
Sorry about that. No, the reason is because in order to make them more reflective of how we actually want them, we actually need some more development on them, and everybody is very busy, so it is a priority and hopefully coming soon, TM, but we had to get something to work in a tier 0 so that we could at least get the hauling missions out.
No, Nick. Nick. We are all taking it as final. We know that you're never going to change it, and the times that you put on there, we're going to rage about, buddy.
Be working on fixing that as soon as resources available to fix that. But it is actually worth noting, just from a time calculation point of view, that the times when calculating the reward on the hauling missions don't use the auto-loading times, they use the manual loading times, except for the Hull C, because that is always auto-loading.
All right. Speaking of we're going to get into a little section here talking about effort versus reward and stuff. Well, as we talked about in SCL, as we talked about in ISC yesterday, there's lots of these missions that are chained to link from one location to another location to another location, stuff like this. This question is, why not simply use a big enormous C2 Hercules and chain all of the small missions? Why would we ever use a smaller medium ship at all?
From a mission design point, you can.
Yeah.
This isn't something I want to limit. I want you to choose, back in the, it was way ago, but back when we used to have the old delivery system where you could chain your own cargo missions together, that was exactly the point. Players could have this huge ship and take quite a lot of small jumps and then go, oh, this one goes to this location, and then I have a pickup from there and it goes back over here, and I can make my own round delivery loop from just reading contracts and understanding where everything is locality wise. I know that this outpost is right next to this outpost, so I'll drop off here and I'll do a quick hop, grab it, and make my time more efficient. But I'm sure Nick might have
that's
some
good.
other reasons as to why not. It's not the most efficient route. You're wasting your time.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. Obviously, not only can you do it, but you definitely should be doing it. The question isn't so much whether you should or shouldn't be using a C2. Why would I ever use a small or a medium ship? Maybe that's all you have. Maybe you only have a small or a medium ship.
Is that Luke Presley back there? I wonder what kind of important stuff's going on back behind Nick right now.
Not everyone has C2s like Salty Mike. So if you only have a small or a medium ship, then we wanted to make sure that you still had access to the hauling gameplay. The other thing to bear in mind, of course, is that there are only so many of each type of mission in each part of space. So if you are in a very traffic part of space and there are more people who are doing hauling and they have smaller or medium ships, they may have taken all of those small and medium sized contracts. So there may be one or two you could grab, but you aren't going to be able to fill a whole C2 with them if you're in a heavily trafficked part of space where everyone else is scrabbling over those same missions. And then, of course, there are the more economy-based answers. So can you make an efficient delivery route? If you have to go back and forth and back and out of atmosphere and back up again, and you have to sometimes quantum, sometimes you're using hydrogen, fuel costs alone might make it not economically viable to do
VTOL
8 different small missions when you could just do 2 medium or 2 large ones.
Also, depending on where you're going, a C2 is a really big target. If you're seeing a C2 fly between big commerce areas, people are going to start to figure out that that's what folks are doing, and those become bigger targets. And imagine having to losing not just one mission's worth of cargo, but 4 simultaneous missions worth of cargo to 4 different providers.
Absolutely, that is a really good point. I mean, imagine there is a trade lane, a small trade lane, which is traditionally nomads and maybe cutlasses or whatever Halays are hauling this lane. And maybe there is a pirate lurking. If he sees a C2, or they see a C2, which one are they going to go for? The Titan or the C2? So there are...
Yeah, this is how the salvage missions are, right? You get a salvage contract. It's not like they tell you to take a vulture. You could take a reclaimer if you want, but what's the point? You got to take the missions that'll let you pay for that ship. If you're taking out a C2, you're likely going to need to be able to pay for somebody who's going to be on a turret, or who's going to run engineering, or who's going to at least be a co-pilot to you. Whereas you could instead run on a raft where you might only need yourself, or maybe one other person, whereas a C2 might need 2 or 3 other people. The whole point of this game, in my opinion, is to force you to figure out which ship you're supposed to use. That's the most important thing with all these missions, in my opinion. You gotta have to make the calculated decision that proves that you know the game you're playing. And that's what separates somebody who's good at the game from somebody who just jumped in and thinks that the biggest ship is going to get them the best job done. And I think that's pretty important.
considerations.
Yeah.
But by all means, take multiple missions. Be as efficient as you can.
And the rep hit to that, like if you do get caught out, like there's 4 missions that are gonna fail, and you get a rep hit.
What's up,
times
Balton?
4. You know, yeah, you might have a bit where it's like, right, I can't play cargo missions for the next hour or so.
Johnny!
Right, no, it's good. It's like anything else. There's options.
Wait, bring Johnny back. Talk to us about gameplay features.
So what's Johnny doing? Hold on. Go back to Johnny.
He was Johnny. Come here. Jared's asking questions about you.
Oh.
I'm on
Right.
SCL.
Oh, sorry. Right.
No, it's good. It's fine.
He didn't know he was live.
All right. So yeah.
I know SCL's Friday. It's Jared, you know, it's unreliable, right? Yeah, he's doing it before. He's got I don't know.
I have a thing that I'm supposed to be doing on Friday. So.
Johnny has a lot of good stuff under his wing. He has, I'm pretty sure he's on one of the PU teams, so he does a lot of like the general gameplay kind of stuff, salvage and repair and refuel, and has his hands in that. So I'd love to know what he's working on right now.
We're here officially in the EBR phase here. We mentioned it first on SCL a couple weeks ago. It came up again on ISE yesterday. This is not a new concept, this effort versus reward. I would hesitate to would not hesitate to say that just about every video game that's ever been made involves some kind of effort versus reward calculation. Why is this new to us? Why are we talking about it now?
Wait. Are you telling me you guys aren't reinventing the wheel? Is that reliable? Is that reliable information? Can we quote that? Not reinventing. Is that it? Chris, are you guys not reinventing the fucking wheel on effort versus reward? Why did I even backstart? Why am I $40,000 into this game if you're not going to make everything from scratch? Figure it out. Unbelievable.
For the people who've chosen not to watch the other things, give us a cap of why it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is not proprietary tech. This is
No.
the way that you would approach how to balance the player's activities versus the reward that they should be given in any game. I mean, if Star Citizen were a traditional single-player game and we just had characters with levels, then it would be relatively easy to work out how much gold we should give you, depending whether you're a level 12 or 1150, 1170, or whatever it is. But because Star Citizen is not only an MMO of a very large scale, but we also have a mixture of structured missions and sandbox gameplay, and we don't have a traditional leveling system per se, then EVR, which is for people who didn't see the SCL or the ISC, it's effort versus reward. So it's basically time and difficulty on one side of the equation. How long it takes you to do something, how difficult it is to do it, will always be equivalent to the amount of reward that you will get for the time and the difficulty. So that could be UEC, that could be reputation, that could be the amount of loot in an area. And it allows us just to balance the universe, whether that's a mission or an area like a distribution center, or sandbox gameplay like piracy, for example. It's really important that people doing any kind of activity feel that they are receiving appropriate reward for the effort they're putting in. That's part of what makes the game fun. So Jared actually had a brilliant description of it in the last SCL, a par for the course. It's not the final number, it's a design discussion, and it creates an expectation for what the reward level should be for the player activity. And there are additional factors that we need to consider, like, for example, how do you handle the risk of players stealing the cargo that are given to them in the hauling missions? So when we're designing the hauling missions and the reward for that, we have to consider what to do about that. And that isn't directly a question that's answered by EVR. It's a question that has to be answered by design around the mission design. And all of these conversations happen with the mission designers and the economy. We work really closely together so that we can apply it to all of the different behaviors, all the different activities across the
part
game.
of the conversation that we have is Nick's tool will generate this value that we look at, and then on the design side, it's not exactly that we know the numbers and we know all of the economy, so we know how it fits and we know it balances. We can just go as simply as this doesn't feel like it's enough, or this feels like it might be too much. And then from there, we have a conversation on what part of it and why, and then we rebalance from that. And we've done multiple passes, like even since everyone saw the SCL, me and Nick have sat together a few times and we've gone over the sheet that balances every single mission, and sort of gone over how it feels and giving some more information, you know, been like, right, this one's insane, right? Because it takes into account you'll get a crime stat. And then if you get a crime stat inherently, you either go to prison and serve time off, or you have to go to Korea, do your hacking. People will come kill you, PvP. You've got all the AI there to battle against. And then because of that, you know, it's like, right, well, every illegal mission baseline should have this value, and then anything that's extra gets put on top of it. So it's not like a cold and unfeeling system. It's something that is nurtured with love.
And like
And the
anything.
advantage.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
The advantage is that because it's a combination of maths and design, then we can make bespoke decisions as we need to, but fundamentally underneath it all, there is an algorithm. So in the future, when StarSim, when a system is making these decisions in a more algorithmic way, the entire system can be balanced at once and then tweaked and designed accordingly, which is a really important place for us to be when it comes to balancing an entire universe.
Yeah, I'm certain that there were people who looked at the information from the last SCL and did some maths and was like, it's going to take 107 days to earn an 890 jump at that kind of payout and stuff. We just want to reiterate again that...
Hey, this is where Astropub's tweet comes from. I get it now.
Every aspect of Star Citizen is still a work in progress. We're in alpha. We're going to try some stuff, and then we're going to try some other stuff, and we're going to try some other stuff. It's even Master Modes has some changes coming down the road, which we'll talk about in a bit. Don't get too excited. It's just more evolution. We try a thing, we listen, we try another thing. You can say a lot of things about Star Citizen. I don't think anybody can't say we're afraid of trying new things and afraid of taking a different direction after we try something. So I just want to caution you again, when you see these numbers, even when 324 goes out, and it's out, when you see those numbers on those days, that's the number then. And we will continue to review, we will continue to discuss, we will continue to iterate. So feedback.
This is the painful reality of this game. And it's probably the painful reality of every game, but most games just like shut the heck up and do what they do and don't share it with the community, so they don't really care if we don't like it or not, right? Imagine how absolutely nuts the development of like Grand Theft Auto 6 would be if we just got to have insight on every part they were building into the game. And a lot of people hate this. A lot of people really freaking hate this because it means that things take longer. And if it doesn't work, this is in the video I released yesterday or today. And I'm going to plug it again, because if you are a supporter, Twitch, YouTube, Patreon, go watch it. I'm talking about this very thing, and we call out certain features that are like this. Hover mode is one of them. Hover mode is the biggest one. That's why the templates, the thumbnail says the hover mode effect. I call this the hover mode effect. They put hover mode in, tried it, because it was a solution that did the job they wanted, figured it didn't do it in the right way, pulled it, and now they've been working on the alternative for a couple of years now. And the alternative is probably going to be a lot better. It's going to work better. It's going to make more sense in the game, and it's not going to be some kind of hand-holdy feature that forces you to play a certain way. But like, people don't like that it takes that long. And a lot of people are angry about master modes, and you got to look at it the same way. Should they rip master modes out, come up with a better solution, and then work on that for a while? Or should they just push forward with master modes and make it work for the game they're building? And that's, I think, a pretty hard place to be in for a game that has so many different features that try to interlock. I don't think most games try to do as many different types of game loops in a unified space as this game is doing. And it is, oof. It's rough. I mean, from what we've seen. I don't know if it's actually rough, but judging by the way that their hair and mannerisms change over the years, I think it's pretty rough on their side too.
Feedback, feedback always. Doom and gloom, the sky is falling, less helpful.
Yeah, and I mean on that point to the
But they couldn't possibly be past the trying stuff phase, right? Like, imagine if they came in and they were like, this is how everything works. All of you who don't want it to work this way. We're just going to implement it, and if it sucks, it sucks. The game goes forward. Like, imagine waiting 10 years for this game and then them just being like, we're just going to put it in. And it better work. If it doesn't, deal with it. That would suck. I would be absolutely pissed off. I would probably drop this game if they started doing that. Like, if we've gotten to then, you know, you can call that a sunk cost fallacy. I call it sticking to your freaking guns and doing what you said you're going to do. And unfortunately, that takes a while, and it's annoying. And I think there are certain places where they could definitely cut time and focus on certain things. But like the idea of them taking all this under their wing and then just deciding at some point, like, it's just been too long. Let's just throw this stuff into the game and hope that hope that they're not going to leave us. That would suck. The replacement of hover mode is, yeah, combination of control surfaces and the heat system. Which is more systemic, you know? The old hover mode was like what master modes is now. They basically just like picked a number on the scale of thrust, and they were like, once you hit that number, something happens. Look at how much that pisses people off with master modes. It sucked with hover mode. I know some people liked it, but it's just like not a great way to do it.
The hundreds of days point. If you were to take the numbers of the early missions, and, you know, let's say at the moment we're imagining those numbers are around the 20k per hour, for example. But like Jared says, these numbers change. And then
again, they're not creating a new system with hover mode. They've always had the heat system. They've always had control surfaces. They've always had the engineering system planned for the game. They just shifted the responsibility of our sense of hovering from something that they created out of nowhere to a system that already was planned for the game.
You just did a straight times this by that, what's an 890 jump, then you're getting hundreds of days or whatever. Okay, but you're not going to be doing those missions. Yeah. Well, I mean, for starters, we're an MMO, so we're not like a 40-hour game that you finish in 3 weeks. But even so, this is not a linear scale. This is a curved scale. The whole point of it is the further you climb up that scale, the more rapidly you accelerate, the more rapidly you make more. That's not only to reward players for their progression through the system, but it's also to account for the fact that an extremely difficult environment is going to require multiplayer. It's not going to be soloable. So it can't just be the case that I get this reward when I do an easy one and I get this reward when I do a difficult one. It needs to be one person gets this reward when they do an easy one, and 3 people get this reward when they do a hard one, split up between them, and you still progress that way. But it's not a straight line. It's quite a curve.
There you go. What do you say to, so obviously, those are those calculations. We talked a bit about how we calculate calculate effort, you know, and how hard it is in something. What about time? Time is another factor. I saw comments of people that said that were saying that you're not factoring all that time of walking through stations, of having to buy food and water, of having to set a destination on the map, the time it takes to open the hangar doors, the multiple times you die in the elevator. How are the time discussions going versus the effort?
I mean, for the first part, I know Nick's got his answer to it. Is, you know, in the real world, if you're a hauler, you have your vehicle and you get your petrol paid for. The time it takes you to get there is your own time, right? And if you take longer than necessary, you know, it won't be worth, because it's like, oh, this is meant to be a 2-hour haul, but instead I stopped off and had a meal, so it's actually a 4-hour. You know, that's on you. For example, when I'm working here, they pay me from the second I'm sat at my desk to the time when I finished at my desk. They don't pay me for my walk in. They don't pay me for my stop at Mackie D's for me breakfast. Like, you know. So for me, it's there are bits we'll pull in to the payout that make sense, but there are also bits that just don't make sense. And I'm sure Nick will have more of a elegant.
No, actually, no. Sorry, Jared. Go.
No, I said let's hope.
I mean, one big difference here is why I'm not elegant is I'm from the north and Nick's from the south.
I am not from the south. I was born in Scotland.
Oh,
No, he wasn't.
I
I got the accent for it.
you know what?
what do you mean? No, he wasn't.
Too soft.
Don't.
How do you get to decide where he was born?
You can't judge a person by their accent. That's a saying, right? Anyway, I was gonna actually reply this more from a design point of view as opposed to just a cold numbers point of view. Star Citizen, like any game, you can play it as a min-maxer. You can play it as I want to make absolutely the most I possibly can. I want the best reward. I want everything in every minute of every day. Why aren't I getting the best thing I possibly can? But we're building an immersive universe here. If you want to spend time walking around the station, buying your food, getting your burritos, doing your stuff,
hey, now let's not call
names.
names.
That you're somehow not earning enough. You're going to take your missions, you're going to do your sandbox gameplay, you're going to get a fair reward for it because of EVR and because of the ongoing balance and because of the feedback and the fact that we work with the community to make this happen. Wow, JJ's loud. And and if you want to just chill and
wait, what?
And
JJ, are they in the same building? Oh, duh.
Not earn money every second that you are playing the game because
It's the same room.
Go for it.
Elliot.
Yo.
What breakfast do you get at McDonald's?
It depends. It depends what day it is.
Oh yeah, duh, they're in the same room. Look at the ceiling.
I'll sometimes get like 2 sausage and egg McMuffins, and maybe a cheesy bacon flatbread. But it's only on certain days. I don't do it every time.
Do you put the hash brown in the sausage and egg McMuffin?
I don't like hash
I'm gonna
browns.
replay a bit. I'll be right back.
Sandbox
you guys
gameplay,
enjoy
you're
what they
gonna
just
get a
said
fair
again.
reward for it because of EVR and because of the ongoing balance and because of the feedback and the fact that we work with the community to make this happen. Wow, JJ's loud. And and if you want to just chill and not earn money every second that you are playing the game because it's a game, go for it.
Elliot.
Yo.
What breakfast do you get at McDonald's?
It depends. It depends what day it is. I'll sometimes get like 2 sausage and egg McMuffins, and maybe a cheesy bacon flatbread. But it's only on certain days. I don't do it every time.
Do you put the hash brown in the sausage and egg McMuffin?
I don't like hash browns.
Yeah, but you put them in the sandwich. I don't like eating them alone either, but you put them in the sandwich. It dramatically changes the sandwich.
Across McDonald's, I don't touch that. I've had a hash brown before in a sandwich, in one of those, but it's just not. It's not for me. I don't know. I know. Don't judge me. I mean, if you're gonna judge me for anything, it's the 2 double sausage and egg McMuffins. That's what I should be judged for.
I eat the 2 double sausage and McMuffins, which usually you get the meal, and then it comes with a hash brown, and then you add another hash brown, and then you just get the second one solo. You get the second one solo. It's actually like 40 cents or pence or whatever the heck you call the little ones here, cheaper than ordering 2 meals.
Yeah, it's pennies.
Yeah.
All right, well, next time I'll get the hash browns and I'll bring them to you. You can have my hash browns.
Well, no, I can't have them anymore.
Oh my God.
I'm not allowed to have sugar or carbs.
They go in the bin then.
And that's the show for this. No, I'm just kidding. We'll tack it on at the end. That wasn't lost time. That was me time. Nerfing mission payouts, e.g. salvage missions, and why do hauling missions pay so little compared to other things I can do to earn UEC?
Yeah, Nick.
Yo, I picked the perfect time to go away, huh?
Everything.
Isn't this Connor? Isn't this
Not that,
isn't
hey,
this
you know,
Connor who's
I
going out?
appreciate some good breakfast conversation, to be honest. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I did used to get the McDonald's breakfast, and it was the It was the one that they did that was like the egg. I don't think it was a McMuffin. It was like the bread had like maple syrup. Probably wasn't maple syrup. Come on, it's McDonald's. They had like syrup in the bread, kind of. So it was a little bit sweet on top of the salty meat, which sounds kind of fucking gross when I say it like that, but it was pretty yummy. I used to eat that back when I would do like early morning snowboarding trips up to Lake Tahoe. Good days. Yeah, McGriddle. Thank you. That was it. Good old McGriddle. Yeah, that brown flavored, brown colored corn syrup. Ooh, ooh. Good times though.
And nerfing all the missions.
They're all one.
It's a combination. It's a
bubble
combination.
Just tell them
It's the whole of the economy team.
Oh wait, I missed some conversation. What y'all saying? What are y'all talking about? As a developer, looking at their office makes you cringe. You couldn't concentrate with all that going on around you. No wonder it's taking so long. You gonna associate the time the game is taking with the office? I don't know. It really depends, I think, on what the work environment is, like how the devs are actually working. Because if you do have a bunch of devs with their headphones on and you're in your own space, I don't think that's that bad. But you know, some people like to work a certain way, some people like to work another way, and maybe they have side offices where if you don't like to be in this open environment, you can be in the side office working privately. That's how my old job in Florida was. Whilst it is great we are going to be actually able to play it. Wait, what? You worry that the Gamify Brigade have come into SC to turn all this mess into a game, and they are going to throw away a lot of the hard stuff like Quanta and dumb it down. Hey, I made a video about that. It's another supporter video. It'll be coming out later this year at some point. Whilst it's great we are actually able to play it, looks like some of those original ideas were just too hard to achieve. But they're talking about StarSim in this video. What do you mean they're not getting rid of Quantum? They have to turn it into a game, yes, but I have not seen anything significant get cut from this design so far. The most significant change I've seen them make to the game that we expect has been changing the ability for beds to be exclusive spawn zones. And that, I think, is still something that you can work into a good consequential position. You could still have beds be a very important kind of spawn place. I'm not convinced that they're going to do that yet until they talk about it, but I haven't seen anything get taken out of this game's design or vision yet. You've only been playing SC since September 23rd. What they have with VTOL seems fine. Can't see why CIG would make it more complex. All right, I hate to get distracted, but I do want to answer this. Let me show you. Hey, look at that. This is literally the video I was talking about. Let me show you. This is the wrong browser. A quick clip about how VTOL is supposed to work. Okay, that's weird. This is the same video that's playing in the background. Like, this is the stream music right now on a random playlist with 114 tracks. This song is playing right now. And then when I start this video, Citizens development has been slow. It's the same back. That's weird. It's almost impossible to not know this. All right, so listen to this. Here's just a little part of the video I released today. The move was called hover mode. It was a controversial addition for various reasons, but ultimately CIG decided it was the wrong feature for the job.
It was the right idea with not quite the right implementation.
Now, as you'll surely see in the comments, hover mode was amazing and did everything it needed. An artificial limitation little spite placed on ship. Many say great tall and air pollution player is gone for years. Flight control surfaces back in 2021. Here's the replacement.
Heat, we don't really use heat at the moment because the way heat works in our game is not how we want it to work long term, and this is something with a resource system that is being entirely redone. But for ships like a Gladius, as well as needing that control surface to keep up in the air, like if you're not going fast, those thrusters can start overheating as an extra penalty, because in reality you could just upend your Gladius like that and balance it on its main thrusters, but because they're powerful enough to do that, so they should be powerful enough to do that, but they're going to be working so hard that that heat is going to build up, and we can cause intentional problems doing it that way.
And now more recently, you can hear Yogi Klatt reference the functionality at CitizenCon just last year.
Bring down the speed more and more until you're reaching stall speed, which is about now, and then the thrusters will kick in and catch you. That means, however, you are now in a state that the thrusters don't like, right? So at the moment we have turned this up, but in the future you will not be able to hold this for long.
So it's basically just a replace. It's like a flight sim. Like when you're flying in DCS, if you go too slow, you stall. It's because modern jet fighters can't stay in place. This is the exact same idea. Spaceships can't stay in place under gravity. That's the whole point. But you have certain ships that come with VTOL engines that are specifically meant to allow them to stay in place. So this is, once again, just like with the cargo stuff, just like when you want the right ship for the job when you're hauling, you're supposed to be looking into the right ship if you're going planet side. If you're not going planet side, you don't have to worry about this. But if you are the specialized hauler who does delivery missions to planets and outposts and stuff like that, you're more likely to have a ship with VTOL. And it's nothing more than just emphasizing ship choice. That's really what they're going for with a lot of these kinds of features. And they're not really trying to make it more complicated. They're just trying to make it make sense when it comes to the wear and tear system. They do have 1,200 devs, but they are mainly working on a different game. I know I keep bringing it up, but it's really easy. Not really easy. I think there is a parallel comparison to be made to how Rockstar builds GTA. They focus very heavily on a campaign that sells and makes big headlines and does really, really well for that. Well, it's GTA, so forever. But in the meantime, they have a lot of people working on a multiplayer aspect that is also developing technology and trying to build a game that will last longer, that has more in-depth stuff, RP possibilities and things like that. They're even working on their own form of server meshing for it. And I mean, you could probably, there are other games like that. I guess Elder Scrolls is kind of like that, but they don't really package them up, but they release an Elder Scrolls game and then they made the Elder Scrolls MMO. Those weren't like linked together like GTA games are, or like this would be with Squadron. But it's kind of similar. They have a lot of devs, or a lot of employees. I don't know how many of their employees aren't actually working specifically on the game. But they have a lot of employees that are split between two games, and it sounds like they're struggling with it, to be honest. Like, they bit off more than they can chew. That is pretty obvious at this point. They are cutting it close with money. The timeline is not great. And a lot of the features and bugs remain broken for a long time because they don't have the manpower to work them out, iron them out. And that's the game is really suffering for it. I hope it works out for them, but nobody really knows. We just kind of hope that they can keep it afloat. And the fact that they've kept it afloat this long is good. But it's hurting. It's struggling.
He's not here. He can't defend himself. Just tell him it's Connor.
It's Connor. Yeah, it is Connor. It is literally, it is Connor for Jumptown. Connor for
No, they're not getting rid of bed logging.
Everything.
I'm going to have to stick up for my esteemed colleague Connor here.
Go right
Connor
ahead.
is commodities. Connor is commodities and those kinds of things, and he knows exactly what he's doing. Thank you, Mr. Maltby. But,
I never said he didn't. I just said it was him. He's responsible.
Connor, we love you.
Yeah, Connor.
Come over.
Okay, so what do we have to say about nerfing of these mission payouts?
So we're in a strange situation right now where we have hundreds, in fact, we have thousands of missions, and in order
No,
to
I don't think they're trying to get a Chinese, like from the government. No, I don't think they're trying to get a
quite a substantial
investment from
amount
the
of manual work
Chinese
that needs to be
government.
done, and that is ongoing. So you're experiencing at the moment. Some of the missions are in the new system in EVR, and some of the missions are still with the original designed rewards, which were kind of put in by whichever designer put those in at the time. When everything is rebalanced to EVR, then there will be a new
reality,
normal, if you like. Yeah, a new reality. But it's not doom and gloom. You've just only seen certain parts of it. So, for example, the hard retrieve consignment missions. What are those called, Elliot? That's a great name in Dataforge.
Retrieve consignment. They are the missions where you go to a UGF and there's a box dispenser. You have to find a code from the body, enter it into a terminal, and it pumps up random commodities that you can sell. And you're looking for a confidential item that you then have to deliver. That's what those ones are. I can't remember the narrative name because it's got a few variants, but that's what you do in the mission.
Right. So the original reward on those was set by the designer, but they didn't perhaps understand quite how long those missions would take, because EVR is time and difficulty.
Throw me under the bus.
Okay. The original designer was only slightly out, but EVR takes into account the time, and so we have that data now, and so they're getting a bump. They're getting about a 50% bump, and the multi-3 and the multi-4 hauling missions, they're like up in the hundreds per hour. And the illegal missions, like Elliot was saying, because they are additionally complex with the crime stat, and the difficulty in those is always higher, so they're going to be have a bump. And those crazy, very, very low-paying missions, for example, the box delivery missions, they're getting a bump as well because they take a certain amount of time more than perhaps they originally thought. So it's not all doom and gloom, but it will be a new normal, and we will listen to all the feedback and balance everything so it's rewarding.
But it's not all happening in 324.
Absolutely not. No. This is very much ongoing work.
Can I ask a question I kind of feel like I have to ask?
Shoot.
Why not wait until every mission has been rebalanced to do this change? Why create the inequity for any period of time?
Yeah, that is a very fair question.
What?
Because
I feel like you've seen 3 to 5 videos of me talking about this. I haven't even released any videos since this came out. How could I do that? I just streamed some gameplay on Saturday. Yeah, this is my first time watching this. I don't like to rewatch things on stream. Not really super genuine. Like, unless I have absolutely, like, I skimmed ISC before I watched it here today, but I like to try and not watch these until I get to join you guys for them. Just because it's fun to check them out first time.
The longer we waited to put this tech into any mission, we'd basically be adding to the old way of doing things instead of moving on to the new way. So the entire mission system is being refactored now, and EVR is a part of that refactor. So new stuff is coming out with EVR. Recent stuff is being addressed. Older stuff is going to be addressed.
Okay.
And I just want more missions like the Kovalex mission and the what was Tessa Bannister missions. Those were good fun.
Don't lower mission rewards and higher prices mean grind? Do we want grind?
Yes.
To an extent.
We want an MMO.
Like, there's nothing financially straining about this game. Now, I don't think we should have lower rewards, but we should definitely have more money sinks that encourage us to actually spend money on stuff, because there's just nothing to buy right now. You just make money and then you're like, hey, this is great. Any newcomers want some money? I want to feel like I need to earn money to do something in the game.
We want game pay, we want opportunity, we want years of Star Citizen. We don't want 40 to 60 hours. I got an 890 jump, I'm done, I'm going to go and play.
We want, like, you feel more connected to things that you've had to put more time into getting. There's other MMOs where you do raids that take absolutely hours, and the rewards you get from them feel even better because of the effort you put into it. And it is effort versus reward, right? The grind is a part of the effort, and your reward is how an item makes you feel. There's a really popular community event we did a while ago, which was kill 50 players and you get a Vandal mask. That Vandal mask means something to those players because they put in that time, they put in that effort. The ones who actually did it, not the ones who just like had all their mates on a server and just killed them. Like the people who put in the grind, it means more to them. And it's the same thing that we've been going forward with some of our other events, where we've been giving you a set of armor that shows that you've done a bunch of stuff for it. It feels more rewarding to use the player.
Was that Will?
Bunch of stuff for it. It
No, I don't think that's
feels
Will.
more rewarding to use the player. And that's what a lot of MMOs do. You know, you put in time, you put in effort, and you have something to show for it. I can't tell you how many times JJ sits next to me, has loaded up World of Warcraft and shown me all of his accounts.
I was going to say that's horse shit, because I never got Alice Razor. And so, like, everything that you're saying right now, I'm like, no, I never got Alice Razor. I never got that damn Firebird. So it's all, that only works if I get it. If I don't get it.
You'll get it. You'll get it. You just
Eventually.
need to join the right people to boost you.
No. I had to leave that. That was a decade and a half was enough of that, and I gave up. But yeah, I think the point is taken. One of the weird challenges that are unique to Star Citizen is that we're running a live environment in the middle of our development. So in the development of any game, many things will start easy and then become hard. Some things will start hard and become easy. It's this continuous sculpting and reverse sculpting. And most of this is done in secret. Most of this is done in private in any other game. By the time they open it up to the players, they're well along, and a lot of those big sweeping changes have been done. We have this continuous thing where, because we've run a live game environment since late 2015, November, December 2015 to this day here, these growing pains are experienced not just by us, which is normal, but by our players, which is not. So players who have played a long time, players who have played a tremendous amount, can get used to things being a certain way. And when we change, that almost never feels good. Whether it's a good change or it's not is a whole nother discussion. It's just when you become used to something, when you've been accommodated to it, when you've decided you like it, and then it changes, that can cause consternation. We see that with everything from master modes to these economy changes. And
knew he was going to say master modes first. Low-hanging fruit, Jared.
Between. That's not the same as saying that the feedback is not valid. I want to be real clear with that. Feedback's valid. Some of these changes are going to be too sweeping. Some of these cuts are going to be too much. Some of these bumps are going to be too much. Some of the things we did for master modes, like hover mode stuff, are going to be right where we want them, and some aren't. And we're going to keep tweaking and stuff like this. This is all of Star Citizen's game development, but. It is a. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me just finish this up here. But yeah, it is a. I see it from everybody, from good people, from the best people who struggle with this, and it's unfortunate, but it's normal. It's a part of our process here, and it comes part and parcel with running a live game environment in the middle of our development.
I'm gonna go the opposite direction and say I'm quite tired of the non-change when it comes to combat being so center. This is how we started the stream. It's always combat. I think that's going to be on the thumbnail for this week's video. It's always combat. Let's switch it up. Let's change that. Less pew pew. I love pew pew too. Like, I'm an FPS player. But oh my god, I came into this game because I want to do space stuff that's not FPS.
So as always, we just encourage you to be patient with us, to help us, to keep testing, to keep giving us feedback. Like I said before, the doom and gloom stuff doesn't help so much. The, hey, this could be more like this, and you would get this. That's the sweet stuff. So yeah, what do you want to say, Elliot?
Just something to add is, like, we're very much aware, obviously, as Jared says, with us being live service, and when we talk about being an MMO and grind and the reactions we get, we understand why for most of them. We're making a grindy environment in something that we constantly reset and wipe as it is currently, and that obviously isn't fun because you're not getting that long-term reward out of the effort you put in. But eventually, when we're closer to done, you will, because we'll have will have solidified a lot more of this. So therefore the grind and the wipes will go so that you can put in the effort and get the effort out. I understand right now that it won't be as fun to put, 80 hours into getting some up there in the hauling things just to next patch find out that we need to wipe because of a bug or because we're balancing. It's part and parcel of just having to lay the tracks while we're still running the train down it.
Yeah. Although I want to add to what Elliot says, I've had a dozen conversations with Rich Tyler about this topic here. And I was like, why am I looking at Elliot? And we want to try to avoid as many wipes as possible. That's always this. That's always the other thing. It's people don't want to invest time. People don't want to invest effort knowing this thing is going to wipe. It is our intention from this point forward to not wipe for anything or anything. That's not the same as saying that we're not going to.
What?
Intention. Invest effort knowing this thing is going to wipe. It is our intention from this point forward to not wipe for anything.
Is he allowed to say that? That's a big statement. And granted, he does give us a little caveat there. But like, maybe that's something that they should say after 4.0, after the server meshing stuff's figured out. Their intention to not wipe from this point on is, I mean, they're going to have to at some point, but.
Or anything. That's not the same as saying that we're not going to.
Yeah.
And I want to be real clear, because every time we say what we want to do and then something changes, people are like, CIG promised. No, we told you what we wanted to do. What we want to do from this point forward is we want to try to avoid any wipe. If we have to wipe from this point forward, it'll be something severe. It'll be something that we've all come together and said there's just no other way forward. And so that is still a possibility. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say it's not. But the intention from everyone at every single level is to do every single thing we can from this point forward to avoid any more wipes. So
that's a loaded statement, because obviously they didn't want to wipe before. I don't think they've ever wanted to wipe the game. They did when they came across certain things, though. So, like, we would get wipes when there were exploits. Obviously, we'd get wipes when there were back-end changes. Like inventory stuff. 3.15, I think, was a big wipe. 3.17.2, I think. I think we've only had, like, 4 wipes in the last 5 years or so. So they have been trying to whittle them down for sure. But I'm wondering what the significance of saying that is compared to the fact that before they didn't want to wipe either. It's interesting. I'm guessing we definitely are going to see something around 4.0. And whenever we move on from that branch towards the beta time. But it's interesting to state that right now.
And of course, there are some other things which are very important. Pieces of functionality which we haven't got to yet, which will, like Elliot was saying, you'll be able to enjoy your progress and your status that you've earned over all those hours, and it will become even more meaningful with Death of a Spaceman, where it'll bring a bit more consequence, more meaning to decisions you make. And server meshing where we'll bring more players together interacting in the same place, which is going to bring a lot more life and collaboration to decisions you make. And StarSim in the background makes the universe dynamic around you. So at the moment, it might feel like it's a grind and it's Groundhog Day.
He just named like 3 of the most important things in this game.
We're building for the future.
Elliot, you mentioned earlier about, as these missions get harder and harder and stuff, wanting to have more players, other people to help you. Let's talk about security. So, while loading and unloading, and then, while flying through trade lanes and stuff like this, talk to me about security while loading and unloading. Does it just you have to get friends, or are there other things we're looking at here?
There'll be areas where you're safe and there'll be areas where you're not. Places that you have armistice zones and green zones, you'll be very safe in. But ones where you don't, you won't be. It's the intention, right? It's say it's going to be an experience you have in Pyro when you're trying to do these sorts of missions. You know, you're unprotected. Like if I go to an outpost that has a freight elevator that doesn't have a green zone, I need to be aware of it and I need to be ready to defend myself. Whether it's I leave people in the turrets of my ship while I load, whether I hire myself an escort by talking in chat and trying to get some people that I don't know or do know to help me out. There's meant to be some risk, and that risk is calculated when we do the reward. Like we know the locations we're sending you to, we know all this sort of stuff, so that risk is inherently calculated. But no, I'm not here to hold everyone's hand through the unloading and loading process and make it all safe. There will be obviously things to aid you. Like I believe currently if you try to steal a box, say I call up a freight elevator with my cargo on and Nick, who I don't know, tries to take it off, they should get a crime. Like there'll be a way in the legal system for us to defend, and to allow you to sort of enact justice yourself legally without consequence.
Yeah.
Did he just say green zones and armistice zones as if they're not going away? Because that's interesting if that's the case.
As you mentioned, obviously where you operate is important. Like there's the green zone stuff, but even in a place like Pyro that doesn't have any green zones per se, you know, it's you can align yourself with one of the factions there, and if you're aligned with the Citizens of Prosperity and you're doing your loading there, you'll have a certain amount of protection from the folks there.
Right.
But if you're aligned with Citizens of Prosperity and you try to go to one of the headhunters trading posts and try to load up there, you're going to have a worse time.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it's these decisions are part and parcel of the process. And even without green zones, there will still be places for everyone based on your decisions, the decisions you make for your character to, okay, this is less risky and this is more risky. The choice is yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people miss that.
Like in real life when they do shipping lanes, if they know that they're going to go through pirate infested waters, there are mercenaries on board to defend against it, and that should be the same thing. Like the players will.
Why would they take into account the danger in payments and then not give you enough money to pay people to protect you? Wouldn't, like, they're not brain dead. They get how games work. You got to be able to pay the people that are with you. If it makes sense that you need a turret gunner, I'm sure that location is going to pay enough for you to have somebody to help.
If they want to do these missions, that at some point they'll have to adapt and understand that, oh, this location I know of because it doesn't have a green zone. That means that this portion of the mission I'm safe, but as soon as I'm getting close to this location, I need to be prepared for anything, right? And it will be something that comes with the player's knowledge, and then building their game knowledge is they'll understand that this location isn't safe for me. I need to make sure I've got protection.
And while we have some version of it now, with these new missions that are, you know, designed to link to go from this place to that place to that place, natural trade lanes are going to start to form.
Yep.
As server meshing comes online, and we begin to increase the number of players, and these natural trade lanes will start to harden and will start to solidify, and you'll start to see more and more ships. That will create a lot of interesting opportunities for players on both sides of the moral compass for protection and for piracy.
Absolutely, and in the long term, the very long term, when there is a system of a broader system of law across the various solar systems that is being managed, so the original quantum demonstration that Tony gave us shows how different action areas can be spawned in response to different types of activity in an area. If there are a lot of pirates, then there's a security response. If there's and that could be player driven or it could be system driven.
Toes. Actually, that's actually exactly what I was thinking of when he was talking about that specific scene. It was this one right here.
There. And you can see that those are missions being created by the NPCs, no different than players would. In other words, you see a lot of deaths on a route that's...
Basically, you got a trade lane here between R-Corp and Hurston, and you've got like a gigantic Kraken owned by pirates sitting out there and just interdicting people, taking advantage of the trade lane.
The NPCs no different than players would. In other words, you see a lot of deaths on a route that's got a lot of value. And go ahead and hover over some of those contracts. These are contracts that are being thrown out by the NPCs on that route. What's happening is the NPCs are basically being, some of the freighters are being picked on by the pirates, the ship is being destroyed, and now that NPC has ejected and needs transport back to civilization. And so they're requesting that. And these are missions that would be fed back into the game that you'd see, and you could wind up accepting these.
Everybody's like, yeah, I can't wait for this in 8 years. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and take a look at Hurston, the coolers and quantum drives.
Check this out. This is where they're operating out of, you guys. Right.
Yeah, they love to throw the ship in there. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, though. And, who knows how exactly it'll work, but I do think they're still working on that kind of model of things. Obviously, they keep referencing it.
A few questions we have are kind of tangential to hauling missions, but the more other profession stuff, but let's see if we can squeeze them in. Elliot, for miners, will there be missions to sell what we mine to something like the distribution centers so that they can then be hauled away with other hauling missions?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, this is the resource gathering type missions, so we will have missions that require them. It says, I know the question is, do miners, like you can steal those goods, you could buy them from somewhere it's really cheap and bring them over, or you can mine them. It's a choice that I want to give the players.
But what I'm hearing from this question is, am I going to be able to fulfill an action that basically encourages another mission to form in a different part of the game? And I think that's a super good question that I don't know if he's answering right now.
So you can choose whatever gameplay you are interested in for this mission. But yeah, we're going to have missions where you have to bring resources to a location, and then naturally that location would then take those resources, produce something, and then another location would then consume what that location produces.
Okay,
and
cool.
That makes the what do you call it, the hauling sort of.
He did answer it. Awesome. That's what we were looking for. That's also something that was included in the original Quantum showcase, and it's freaking fantastic to hear him saying in the design that they've built for cargo, they're still referring back to the Quantum system of creating missions based on producers. They actually said this in the monthly report last year. Producers, transformers, and consumers are being assigned to different locations that basically will ask for things that may have been created. In fact, you know what? Let's go right back to the video that I just had there. He talks about the whole thing right here.
Just like refining ore requires something. It requires 10 workers working for a duration of 60 ticks. And it also notably requires 2 units of refined aluminum ore in order to produce 1 power plant.
It's got to be more complicated than that, I promise. So.
Yes. Again, we're building up. So let's go ahead and add the factory to Hurston.
So in this situation, a refinery would probably be a transformer, a mine would be a producer, and a factory would be a consumer. I'm using these terms not from myself. This is what they said in the monthly report earlier this year.
You gotta slow down.
Oh, going too fast there. Slow on down.
And so once again, you see the economy spring to life. And so now you've actually got 2 different tiers going. The factory. Let's go ahead
7 years.
The factory, just like the refinery, needs workers in order to build these power plants. It also needs refined aluminum. So now you've got multiple things going on. The factory is willing to buy refined aluminum. Someone has to transport that aluminum from Crusader to Hurston. So some of the quanta are basically working, they're basically working as freighters to move that, to move that product from one location to another. Some of them were working at the factory on Hurston. Some of them were working at the refinery on Crusader. Some of them are heading back to Delamar to actually do more mining. So you've got an entire little, economic cycle going here. However, it's going to wind up coming to a dead end here. Let's go ahead and accelerate it again, just like what we saw before, because eventually the factory fills up all of its warehouses. It can't take any more.
Yo, I've always been like, hey, just release this as a game. I'd have fun with this little 4X economic simulator.
Eventually kill off the miners. And you can see there that the inventory is still building on the aluminum, which is why there's still some activity.
There's a lot, yeah. But as soon as it's done, it starts flatlining, so you see that the inventory is capped out.
Yep, and now they're almost done. The factory has basically got, it's got all it can handle. The refinery has all of its, all it can handle. Therefore, and we're going to change the power plant formula. Right now, it requires 0 laranite.
Yeah, that's why we play Civ. Me and Mrs. Tomato are in the middle of a very nice Civ game right now. I'm going religious victory for the first time. I've played the game for like 800 hours and it's my first religious victory.
Factory so that the power plants can continue to be created. Yep, and that's that loop of guys right there. That's what they're taking. Now, one of the important things here is that let's go ahead and look at the Hurston aluminum. Bring Hurston factory aluminum. Now, what wound up happening there is it was very low for a period of time, and that's because they were actually burning off that aluminum inventory as fast as they could get it. And the reason why you see that spike there in the aluminum inventory is because as soon as we altered the formula so that power plants now require laranite, they were still receiving from all these freighter transports. They still had aluminum coming in, but they could no longer produce power plants. So it stalled, and then all of a sudden they started stockpiling. And then when you see that the aluminum started falling, that's because finally they started receiving supplies of laranite, and they were able to resume the production process. And so all of a sudden, their aluminum started getting burned off at a natural rate.
So this is, I think, kind of what the person who asked that question was getting at. Like, is this going to be still a natural flow of resources and stuff as, even if we're involved in it? And I'm really glad that Elliot gave this answer.
You are interested in for this mission, but yeah, we're going to have missions where you have to bring resources to a location, and then naturally that location would then take those resources, produce something, and then another location would then consume what that location produces, and that makes the what do you call it, the hauling sort of mission. Currently our hauling missions are very static. They're not reactive based on the location's inventory amount. That's something that is something more on the side of like StarSim, because it that will keep track of sort of things like that, so it knows what.
And there you go,
and whatnot.
The quantum reference.
This question just says, express delivery missions, please.
Yeah, again, it goes with the type of cargo that you're hauling. We will also have like express hauling requests. So these will just be missions where maybe a company's like, we've got an order on from another company to make this many sort of shield plating for this ship, but we've run out of tungsten or something. We need a quick delivery of it so we can meet our quota and we don't get punished by violating our contract. These sorts of contracts that require you to bring something ASAP to a location will, and these ones will be possibly a bit more unique because they will skip the trade routes that we're setting up with this logistical network, because they are a demand right now. So there'll be a route which is your quickest route to take, rather than from a distribution center that makes them to the LEO, then the LEO to the Lake Lagrange point, and the Lagrange point to the jump point. It will skip that flow, and it might just be get it from Pyro straight to the jump point, straight to the delivery location. So yes, we will have express hauling contracts eventually.
Why has it taken so long to get these hauling missions into game?
People are going after me today. It's we don't want to do a half job, right? For the longest time, our cargo just appeared on our ship, right? And then you take it from A to B, and we wanted more of an involved gameplay loop. So we chose to put them on the back burner until the tech was ready and focus on other things that we thought would be more fun. I play a lot of hauling games like Euro Truck Simulator and Death Stranding, so it's kind of something that I take like quite personally, that I want to ensure that I've got the best experience for the people who like the games that I play, because that for me wouldn't have been fun. So we wanted to wait for the fundamental tech that actually was how we want this system to work, so that we could do these sorts of missions.
To be honest, a lot of it is the functionality with like the cargo boxes and stuff, but a huge part of this is just the back end, the mission system itself, the commodity system, the locations themselves, the points of interest. That's why it's kind of like, same with exploration. It might not be super obvious that it's being built, but every time they're adding these new points of interest or outposts or whatever it is helping this kind of gameplay progress too. This is those same things, derelicts, caves, abandoned space stations, all that stuff, that's like exploration being built as well. You just need a couple extra little pieces at the end to connect it all and let you actually experience it.
Those are the two types of games: Euro Truck Simulator, Death Stranding. Everything else falls in between. What do freight elevators mean for the future of missions?
They mean quite a lot. It's, you know, we can do a lot more now we have them. Now we have this sort of thought out structure of how we retrieve stuff. Like I can give you missions where you have to deliver vehicles. I can give you missions where you have to go to a freight elevator to collect a part. You know, maybe we do a repair mission, and it's like, well, we'll put a bunch of the repair stuff in the hangar, in this like location. You've got access to it. Go pick it up and then bring it to the mission to sort of deem it. I could do a mission where I make you do Tetris in an AI's hangar, where it's just, hey, load my ship up for me, and off you go, and you play Tetris. It gives me a lot of power.
A legally distinct version.
Yes, sorry.
The views and opinions of Elliot Maltby do not represent those of Cloud Imperium Games or
stealing Tetris.
or its subsidiaries.
I just watched the Tetris movie. That's why it was in my head. It was good.
It was good.
It's good. So yeah, I can do stuff like that. It gives me more opportunities to do it. There could be a mission where it's like, gear up for a raid. We've put all the gear in this location. Call up freight elevator. Here's a box full of guns and masks and whatever else. You know, it unlocks a lot of possibilities for missions.
Nick, we only have time for one more question. It's not a question for you, but I want to. Are you there, Nick?
Oh yeah.
There.
Yeah.
I want to let you ask Elliot the question for me.
Yeah. So
ask him if he's ever going to fix the box missions.
So yeah, Elliot Maltby, lead mission designer at Cloud Imperium Games. On behalf of the community, I was just wondering, when are you going to fix box delivery missions?
Yeah, Elliot.
Here he comes. Here he comes. Oh no. Okay, I thought you were going to invade my space.
There's no such thing as box delivery missions. They're not broken. Anyone who says so is lying.
Yes, they all work perfectly. All newcomers, all newcomers should take box delivery missions because they're great. They're healing for the soul, and they will absolutely 100% give you a full experience of Star Citizen. That last statement is actually very true.
So the hauling update and the freight elevator update that came in allowed me to, if anyone remembers that very fun ISE I did on the delivery system, all of that stuff is gone, or will be gone. Because we're turning it into a coded-based system, so it's more robust. It still allows us to put our hooks in it on the design side when we're building logic, so I can still request things and tell it to do things and manipulate it in ways I need to. But for simple missions where there's no extra gameplay that we start up in logic, it's a lot better if it's a coded system. So alongside the freight elevator missions, we have the ability now to do the box missions the same way. So instead of it using a logic system, which can sort of go a bit weird when a server's gone on a bit long or when it's at a low server frame rate, we can use more of a coded system, which makes it more stable. And it will be something that we look to refactor. I can't speak as to when it'll all be done, but we have started this work as it is. So yes, box missions. If everyone who wants to still pick up 3 boxes and take them to a delivery locker or to a shelf, you guys will still have something to do, because that is a part of the courier gameplay.
As long as they work.
It is still something we want. It's just, I'll get them working eventually.
Oh man, so are we still gonna have the broken missions then? I honestly thought they'd be gone with 324. Does that mean that we're gonna have like broken box delivery missions alongside actual courier and cargo hauling missions? Is that what I'm getting from that?
Fair enough. Elliot, Nick, thank you for taking the time out of your Wednesday to be here on the show. Yes, if it wasn't clear this whole time, up here in the corner, it tells you this has been a pre-recorded episode of Star Citizen Live. Again, Elliot, Nick, thank you for taking the time to answer the questions. Community, thank you for the time to submit the questions. We hope you found the show interesting and informative. Alpha 324 is currently available for testing on the Evocati, the PTU, by the time this airs. We hope you get in there, help us kick the tires, light the fires, get this thing out, because we all really, really want it out. Not just cargo missions, not just Blockade Runner, which we talked about yesterday, a whole host of new changes to the personal persistent hangars, the freight elevators, basically just a complete overhaul of life in the verse for almost every just existing aspect of the game. So we're really excited for this in 324. We will be following up with Master of Chad's. I'm sorry, Master of Cargo. It's probably Master of Chad's. I mean, I'm not going to say he's not. I'll ask him. We're following up with a Master of Cargo, Chad McKinney, on ISC in about 2 weeks. So not this next episode, the one after that. We'll basically, but I think we're going to do it. We're going to try. This isn't a promise either. This is one of the things we're going to try. We're going to try to do a Calling All Chads. I'm inventing that right now. We're trying to call it. We're just going to put a bunch of these questions to Chad and have him address all of your concerns and find out what has changed, what's still the same, how it works for cargo and all these things in 324. That'll be ISC in 2 weeks, where we can also show you all these things working, which is why it'll be different than in SCL. SCL will be off next week. It's a scheduled hiatus in the show. We'll be back the following week, and then next week on ISC. A very special episode, an episode I've waited to do for a long time, with Alpha 4.0 approaching. It's time. We're calling this Inside Star Citizen Intro to Jump Points. It's basically everything you could possibly want to know about jump points.
That's a big statement, man. Everything we could want to know about jump points. I feel like there's a lot of things to be said about it, but I'm interested in that.
Since we've been talking about them forever, how they've evolved, how they're going to work in 4.0. The visuals will still be work in progress, because they always are on Inside Star Citizen. But basically, this will be your one-stop shop for everything you want to know about jump points. So check that out on.
They're just doing that because they saw our deep dive about jump points a few weeks ago. Of course, you know how it is.
See you next week. But for SCL, I'm Jared. That was Elliot and Nick. That was Tom on the keys. That's Pete on the people talking.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks for watching, and tune in to ISC next week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so what?
He looks so
creeping back there. You gotta wonder. Whew, that was a little tiring. You gotta wonder, if 324 wasn't a thing, what would they have been doing all this time with all these shows? Because they're really getting a lot of mileage out of 324 stuff, out of the cargo stuff. And if that had released in 323, that means like the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks, I think they did like 3 episodes of community focus. But they've done like 3 different shows about the cargo stuff now, and I do wonder if this stuff had come out with 323, would this have all been like 4.0 episodes? Would they have had to find something else to do? Because they still got plenty to share about 4.0. They've got some good stuff coming in there. Charge and Drain is definitely something we have not seen at all. They do a little showcase on the Zeus. Jump points, as he's pointing out here. Yeah, I think they could have. They had a lot more. They had a lot more time than maybe content. But who knows? Hey, T-Bone, thank you for the sub. Y'all have been wonderful to us on Twitch today. Thank you so much. For those who've been asking about CitizenCon and if we're going, you know, you guys are the ones who are helping us make it. The support on these channels is how we will fund our trip to CitizenCon. So thank you very much. We'll probably need to host something special at the end of this month to see if we can reach that goal to make that happen. But I really do appreciate the support today. Thank you so much, Twitch. This was a good episode because they reconfirmed a couple of things that were shaky. Definitely a lot of talk about the quantum simulation, now Star Sim, which was good. I think that's going to be our feature watch for this week, to be honest, because there were some good details in there that go back to that 2019 presentation. But also the cargo stuff. What do you guys think? Sound like it's a good system? Sound like they've got a good plan for how cargo hauling is going to work? And this goes out to the cargo haulers, because I feel like a lot of the people who say that cargo hauling does not sound fun aren't cargo haulers. Like, they're people who fly normal small ships who think that their whole system is going to get thrown on its head because of this physicalization and because of this new system, when for the most part I think the people who really got to deal with this are people who are flying ships bigger than a Cutlass or a C1. You know, those ships, you got like 3 or 4 boxes that can fill up those kinds of ships, but the bigger ones are going to be where this really takes a toll. SEL makes you angry, so you do not watch them on your own time. Do they make you less angry when we're all here together, angering together? Non-such person, you're looking forward to it? To the, to what? The changes they're talking about here? Kangaroo, you are a space trucker. Sounding good to you. Your largest ship is a Drake Iron Chad. The Ironclad or the Caterpillar? Sounds interesting, waiting to actually do it before passing judgment. That's fair. You're used to cargo hauling in ETS2 or Elite. This will be so different that you can't judge it yet. Has Elite dangerous? Whoa. Whoa. I'm looking at my Twitch goal. T-Bone, you just did the sub, and it's showing me how much that compares to our goal, and I realized it was this time last month that Zayeth came in and blessed us with a whole bunch of subs, because now oh my god, the sub number just dropped a ton. Holy crap. Wowzers. It'd be like that. Did Elite Dangerous change up their cargo hauling much when they added the foot traffic stuff? Space legs? People who think adding story-focused missions or theme park will somehow take away from the sandbox being built, they can literally do both. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's no reason to freak out about missions or sandbox gameplay. I think that you can do both, and there's room for both in the game. They didn't change it? Okay. You got yourself a Drake Caterpillar Best in Show last night. What's the Best in Show? Is that the purple and white one? Sea of Thieves does both, for example. Love that game. That's a solid one. Sea of Thieves is a great... I think that's kind of what Jump Ship is going for. Sea of Thieves in space.
I'm ready.
You ready? Are we ready for our cooking stream? Hello, Chef Tomato.
Hello. Should have
A little spatula. All right, so, folks.
I even have my apron on.
Nice. It's a good color. So, folks, like I said, we're going to finish this up here in the next few minutes, and I'm going to throw this stream on Twitch. So, YouTube, you guys, you know, if you want to see, jump over to Twitch real quick. I'll actually drop the link in there, too. Or Mrs. Tomato, as our top model, drop the link to her channel in there. If you want to come and join us for like just some kickback Q&A, we'll be talking about life and probably some Star Citizen and just answering your questions. Mrs. Tomato is going to be cooking up some nice dinner, and we're just going to chill in the kitchen and have our first cooking stream. Hopefully it all goes well. I've been banging my head against different systems to try and get it working today. And the plan is to, just kind of chill with you guys. We got a couple microphones and a phone, and we'll be hanging out. Hope you guys are interested in that. But any last final thoughts about all the stuff we just went over? I am excited to do the Future Watch. Economy stuff is great. I'm so glad that they're talking about it more now. Star Sim. Let's see. Just noticed your new setup in the background looks amazing. Thank you. Mrs. Tomato did a wonderful job. Actually, we've got a lot of stuff from like CitizenCon here. I have to show you guys this stuff at some point. All these things on the wall up here are things that people have either sent us or given us at CitizenCon, and we wanted to put them up on the wall just to kind of celebrate the community. And I need to start bringing that out. Yo, why is it so difficult to... Hold on, let me get the link here. I ought to show you guys that stuff. Yeah, good old cooking stream. I hope you guys are interested in it. And like I said, just a good chance to conversate. See how Mrs. Tomato does her own craft. And learn a little bit more about the tomatoes. Let me pass it over there. Raid. There we go. See if these main problem for you is that there very little persists in the world, but it's absolutely a sandbox as well as a theme park. That persistence is key. It's going to be nice to have that in this game. You're rooting for CIG, they can get this done, just don't try to deliver everything at once. Yeah, don't break out all for us. Give us 4.0, let us settle on it a little bit. Yannick, hey, it's good to see you. Good to see your name in chat. Looking since a long time. Oh, I know the name. Thanks for being here, mate. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the raid. Again, she should be going. I think she's going to go ahead and hit that live button in the next few seconds so that I can send it over to the live channel. Love you all. Thank you for being here. I will see you again on Wednesday, perhaps. We'll see what's going on. I think it might actually be more beneficial for me to work on videos and maybe do just a couple streams a week. But, you know, we're still looking at... Oh, hold on. Hold on. I get to start this stream. Let's see, what should we call it? The tomatoes, cooked tomatoes. The microphones. I don't know, you have them on the kitchen counter, I think. The tomatoes do some cooking. I was gonna try and host a stream from this computer, but have you guys ever tried to send audio wirelessly? It can be a true pain. All right, so we got our microphones, and obviously, as you can see, this is a little experimental. First time's best time. Well, I can't test it until we actually start, but I'm assuming it'll work. And this is tomato is cooking.
Sounds like I'm making that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Going Walter White up in here.
No, just pasta.
Is there like a cooking
Simulator
category?
No, I was using
Chatting? What do you even...
I was doing streaming. Yeah,
IRL. IRL.
Just had it.
This one.
Say, chatting is fine too.
Okay. Either way.
Either way.
All right, y'all. And, oh, followers. Got followers. All right, I'm gonna go live. You go ahead and set this up. There you go. I'll see you in there. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and shoot the raid over there. A raid has been created. Line them up, folks. Again, if you're on Twitch, come join us. It'll be a good time. Just like this, basically. We're just going to be chatting about stuff. You can ask any questions you want, and there was going to be good cooking going on in the background, sizzling and all that jazz. Thank you again, though, if you're on YouTube. If you are checking out, I will see you soon. Go check out the new videos on the channel, and I'll have something more for you later in the week. Bye, everybody. Have a good day.